15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
I need an intervention. And I'm looking at Perloff, and I'm looking at EJ, and I'm looking at Manny, and I need my good friends here to come and save me. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I'm starting to buy in a little of this Rodgers farewell tour thing from yesterday, and I gotta stop myself. I need
buy
you guys
into what?
Buy into this idea of one last dance, one last ride here with the Steelers. And I've been down on Rodgers and the Steelers and Mike Tomlin finishing out this season, with this gaudy record where he gets to stay above 500. And what are they doing?
Yeah, did you say that?
I know. And now, yesterday, I'm listening to Rodgers on McAfee, and he's got this way of kind of always bringing up, in some ways, the past without not always directly bringing it up. You know what I'm saying? So he's on McAfee yesterday, and he acknowledges to that group that this is likely the last year. And he's like, and I've put the 20 years in, and I've got all the muscle memory. And here I am now with this great franchise and all these things he's saying, Perloff, that are true.
Yeah.
He does have that. And he is at his peak. He could be one of the best. And the Steelers are not the New York Jets. The Jets will find a rake at all times to step on and hit themselves in the face. And I started thinking to myself, oh, man, what if this is some kind of magical last season? A little Peyton Manning minus the neck procedure.
Even Aaron Rodgers didn't say it was going to be a magical last season. He just said it was going to be his last season. You just invented the magical last season out of thin air, right?
What are we doing here? If it's not going to be a magical last season, are we just twiddling our thumbs to go and win 9 games? I mean,
I'll tell you.
This is what he's setting up for everybody. Hey, this is it for me.
Yeah, he said it's it for me, but nobody's like, well, this is going to be the last dance was like we just won 5 championships and now we're going to go out on top. Not we just finished 10-7 and led up 400 yards rushing to the Ravens in the wild card game, and now we have a 41-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tear. This is much different than the movie The Last Dance.
I know, but I think in Rodgers' mind, he's always really close to what his peak was. And I think
Rodgers' mind.
All great players have to think that way. Probably all players have to think that way, but all great players have to think I'm just a few steps away from glory here.
That's
again.
true. Of course he thinks that, but what Aaron Rodgers thinks in reality have not been the same thing, though.
Yeah, it's an interesting
But actually, I don't even know if it's funny, he did say all this stuff, but did he talk about winning a Super Bowl?
No. He's not doing that. I'm filling in some of the blanks here because
that's a pretty big blank to fill in.
Well, he said it with the Jets 2 years ago. That Lombardi Trophy is looking a little lonely, and I think that he didn't realize the waters he was wading into.
But what was wrong with saying that? You come to, I always thought, everyone rips him for that. Yes, that's the goal. You come in and it's implied that you want to win a championship, but he has toned it. I would say he's toned down the expectations a little bit here in Pittsburgh. Even what he said yesterday is this is fun. I want to go out in a pleasant environment. Not hey, let's all get together and do this. I thought it was a bit subdued in a sense.
Well, I think we're at the 1.0 version of this last dance. He floated it yesterday, and then watch. They start the season 3-0, and we'll see what these interviews on McAfee start to sound like. But let's play a little for you of what we're talking about in case you weren't locked in yesterday because you probably have a life and responsibilities and things to do, which we understand. So Aaron Rodgers says he believes this is his last season.
I'm pretty sure this is it. That's why we just did a 1-year deal. Steelers didn't need to, put any extra years on that or anything. So, this was really about finishing with a lot of love and fun and peace for the career that I've had. I mean, I played 20 freaking years. It's been a long run, and I've enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, can I just have Michael Jordan's I'm going to come out and I'm going to murder the rest of the NBA. I'm not going to play with peace, love, and understanding. That was hey, let's go out on top and hug everyone. That was not, hey, let's go kill everyone.
No, well, I mean, Rodgers can't get a cup of coffee without doing it with peace, love, and understanding. That's just kind of what he's doing right now.
No. This is a very subdued version of Aaron Rodgers. He would murder Chicago back in the day. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Well, he's coming off a 5-win season, so we can't really talk tough right now. Maybe the peace and love is the way he wants to approach it. Anyway, he was asked if he feels like, though, coming off of that bad season last year, if he has anything to prove.
I didn't need this. I didn't need it at all. I don't feel the need to prove anything to anybody or don't have any chip on my shoulder that I need to hold on to. I don't want the attention. I know that's a narrative out there.
Well, it's not a narrative. It's life. That's the real thing. We'll get into that in a moment. What Rodgers said about when he's done playing football. But for now, this is the part where I think this is all good and well to say when you're a couple weeks away from training camp.
Yeah.
But I do feel like these habits die hard with these older athletes, right? Where once you get a little taste of it, I do think you do get the chip back on your shoulder. And by the way, Rodgers with the chip on his shoulder is probably the best Aaron Rodgers and the best version of the guy. So I think that's actually incumbent on Mike Tomlin and the rest of the Steelers to bring out that chip on him. I'm not saying you have to, inundate him with his haters and negative clips and stuff like that, but I think the fire gets lit back under him pretty quickly and pretty easily once he gets back in that training camp team environment, because I think the Steelers are looking at him like, hey, let's do something special here.
With a lot of love.
What about last year? Didn't he have a chip coming off the Achilles?
I think he did, but I don't think, first of all, his body was probably ready, to fully take advantage. Okay. And secondly, again, the Jets, that turned out to be a disaster. And they had to have gone into the season last year thinking they were going to fire their coach. By the end of the year, they fired him after week 5. By the end of the year, they had fired the general manager too. So everything was way more tenuous with the Jets than we thought. I don't think that's the situation in Pittsburgh.
Actually, it's funny. Things do feel a bit tenuous. And have you called for Mike Tomlin's job on this show?
You said he has a lifetime contract, and I said that's crazy.
Well, I think Tomlin's a bit
Steeler
embattled.
Depot thought that you said that.
Yeah, I know.
Come
on, guys.
Funny. But one thing,
Get our heads out of
can I step up the ladder of inference here?
Yeah.
One thing is very clear. So he has a secret marriage. We haven't seen a picture of his wife.
Right.
Strange. And yesterday he said that's none of your business and he's going to keep it secret. He definitely married the ayahuasca lady. Are we all into that? Yeah, you were right about that. There's a documentary where he's doing ayahuasca with some smoking hot woman in Costa Rica. Yeah, he definitely
Forget
married
all
her.
that
All
stuff.
all this peace, love, and understanding. That's coming from his new bride. There's no chance. That ain't football talk. And I do agree with you. He'll click back into football mode. It's fine, but it ain't there right now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We don't need it there in June.
Well, I'll tell you why. I mean, this is honestly, if you're a Steelers fan, you're psyched though.
Why?
You have 1 year. He signed a 1-year contract. You're open for business next year. Win or lose, you have total flexibility at quarterback, and that is the way to do this. You're taking a wild shot with a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, and then you're not stuck into any kind of cap situation. So basically, there's no risk. There's 1 year, and what's the difference? You've had 5 years of 10-7.
Yeah.
I don't think I really what's the downside? If it goes bad, so what? Okay. What's your other option here?
Well,
Mason Rudolph?
This is where I have to take my Steelers positivity that has just been brewing over the last 24 hours, and I got to put it to the side. Because you're saying, all right, the Steelers are going to have, they're going to be free and clear after this Rodgers season, however it goes. They've been free and clear for 5 years, and they could not find a quarterback. Kenny Pickett was taken later in the first round. I think there was, I think they kind of failed him, quite frankly. But whatever that situation was, they have had the opportunity, Pearl, to have and find another franchise quarterback, and they haven't been able to do it.
They took a shot with Kenny Pickett. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the process.
That's fine. And then Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. But they haven't been in this limbo now. Yeah, that was last year. This is this year. Tell me then, if you look back at it, what were they supposed to do? They keep winning. They can't draft a quarterback. Well, then what's going to make? I don't think Rodgers is going to make you bottom out. Is my point. I don't see Rodgers leaving them free and clear in this great position, this great opportunity. Yeah. If he's good, they're going to win a lot of games and have a low draft pick. And if they're bad, I don't think they're going to be so bad that it gets to a 4-win season. Well, if they're bad, they'll be in the next year's draft. Should have quarterbacks up till about 12. Bo Nix went 12 to Denver last year. I think you're going to be able to do that next year. If they're bad, say he gets hurt, they get really bad, then they're good. And if they're good, it's exciting. What's wrong with that? A little Aaron Rodgers, as you started the segment fired up about this last dance. If they win 11 games, that is really fun for the Steelers fans. So I just think that the contract is, the fact that he wanted to retire and said, I signed a 1-year deal, that's good,
right? I mean,
Okay, well, let's do this season first before we talk about next season. But
they,
I just don't think they're going to
easily
be.
could have screwed them with a 2 or 3 year deal. That's typical in the NFL. I mean,
To be
honestly,
honest, I don't know if that 2 or 3 year deal was out there for Rodgers. Like, let's
Yeah,
keep it a
true.
buck, as they say.
But
I don't know if anyone was rushing to give him 2 to 3 years and say, all right, we're going to roll the dice with a 44-year-old quarterback.
Did Rodgers really ruin the Jets? I mean,
Yes.
but how? Like,
ask
ruin
DJ.
what? Did the Zach Wilson pick ruin the Jets? Which
that helped.
ruined them more?
He brought in that terrible offensive coordinator. He saddled us with Alan Lazard. He saddled us with a head coach that was embattled. That he
Saddled you
didn't
with Alan Lazard. Like,
Yeah.
that's one player. Who cares?
No, they paid him.
No, they paid him. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they can't give him away.
The Nathaniel Hackett thing.
Nathaniel Hackett, yeah, he absolutely ruined the Jets.
So wait, but ruin implies that the Jets were good before, and then he made them worse.
He further damaged them.
Yeah, I mean, they were our team that was actually on the rise until he got there. Now they're on the decline.
How were they on the rise? So,
Well,
okay.
the
Their defense was
defense,
amazing,
yeah.
and they were winning in spite of having a terrible. They were winning with Mike White.
Winning
To be
what?
honest, they won
They were
7
winning
games.
games. Yeah.
Listen, you're talking about the
White.
You're talking about the Jets here. Super Bowl is not the thing. They're trying to get above 500.
Trying to get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, so 7 wins with Zach Wilson, and then it goes to 5 wins with Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, they were 2-14 in 2020, 4-13 in 2021,
Yeah, then they won 7 games.
The 2-20, the 2 and what was it? Sorry, 2 and
2-14.
and 14. They were trying to tank that year.
Yeah,
Right.
So
Oh, right. But then but I don't think he really ruined the Jets. I think the Jets had a lot of problems. I think unfortunately, they missed on Zach Wilson, which probably you could blame the pandemic on. But you think that having Rodgers in the building was worse than the Zach Wilson pick? That's crazy to me. Like, the same thing with Steelers. Like, they missed on Pickett. Like, that's the issue. Not signing some old guy that's going to come and go.
So we're talking about Rodgers. Are you buying in if this is going to be the last ride, like the last dance? He's like, I'm fully committed to this one last season, and this is what it's going to be. And then we'll let the kind of like that will be it. I'll ride off into the sunset. Does he actually get this sort of storybook ending here? Now, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. It's not all the Rodgers said yesterday.
With a lot of love.
Thing about Rodgers is even if you want to like get on board with something, get excited, just wait 5 minutes because then he's going to say something that's absolutely silly.
You know, I live kind of a quiet life.
Sure. So let's hear from Rodgers saying that once he's done playing football, he will be out of the public eye.
When this is all done, you won't. It's Kaiser Sose. You won't see me. I won't be in the public. I don't want to live a public life. That's why it's so strange what's going on right now with my private life, because I don't want to live. I don't want to live a life in the public eye. I'm not going to be in the public eye. When this is done, I'm done, and you won't see me. And I'm looking forward to that.
Promise? No.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
Want to make a bet because this is like where you lose the plot, right?
So
this is where Rodgers goes totally off the rails.
What do you think he'll do?
Oh, I don't know, but I just have a track record that he just even recently thought he could host Jeopardy while also playing professional football and contemplated, at least for a short time, to be a vice presidential candidate for somebody who's one of the most famous political families that exist in this country, period.
I said, you don't know me.
Made a documentary about how he does, mind-altering drugs. Like, this dude can't quit the public eye because I think he feels like he's got so much knowledge to impart on all of us sheep and all of us little plebes that he needs to enlighten all of us about things.
I'm hearing some animosity towards Aaron Rodgers in that little take right
Well,
there.
but he's earned
Big
that.
shout out to all the women
But
backing
no,
up the
Pearl, will
fellas.
you also acknowledge, even with Jeopardy, where I thought he would have been a fantastic host. So I'll give him the
Yeah, no,
shout
I
out
think-
there.
but
That's
my only-
ridiculous. to
Yeah,
say
I mean,
he's
the only
gonna-
thing is he seems like he's been burned by all this. I mean, all the criticism you just heard from yourself. I mean, like, it seems like he is sick of people hating on him.
Well,
But that could be true. I mean, maybe he tried all this. He put his head out there, and people didn't like it.
okay, that's fine. But that's also, he keeps a lot of this stuff alive in these interviews, right? Like, if he really felt burned by Immunized or some of the other more, like, some of the conspiracy theories that he's put out there, he still, by the way, puts them out there. And he still talks about him. He did Rogan like 3 weeks ago. This is not 3 years ago, and we're holding on to old stuff. He's willingly being a participant still in some of the more controversial stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The track record says that he wants to be public. I don't know. I think he's unpredictable. What was the name of his documentary?
Enigma.
He's a little weird. Would you give me that?
Yeah, and I guess like the funny thing about him now being married and he wants to have this very private relationship, which is totally fine. Probably let's talk about that. The last couple years, you've had his exes who have come out and kind of made some pretty big, not allegations, but like they're talking about how they felt like emotional abuse and stuff like that. There's been a lot here with Aaron Rodgers. Now, some of this stuff is not going to stick to him because there's two sides and,
well, yeah,
and all that. But
maybe that's why he doesn't want to, that he's learned his lesson about having public relationships.
Yeah, maybe that's one part of it. I just feel like at some point we are going to find Brittany with an eye. Like, I just think at some point it's almost like the more you try to keep her private or hidden away, or the more she wants to be recluse or whatever it is, the more the fascination grows with people, right?
Yeah. Well, honestly, let's talk actual reality here. What if in 3 years he's out there in California and Fox calls or CBS or somebody says, we'll give you $45 million a year to do color? That's not disappearing.
No, the football side of it, he's really good about explaining football.
I think that money is going to be tempting to him.
He's made a lot.
Yeah, what's funny about people who've made a lot of money? They seem to want a lot more.
There's never enough, Maggie.
I know. We were talking about the Bezos yacht party yesterday.
I was with you with a lot of things there. Now you totally lost me.
He wants more money, go for it. Do you.
You just saw Tom Brady selling cards to basically working a 9-to-5 job at Fanatics Fest. And he's made a lot of money, and it seems like he can't get enough of it. I do think that I understand a little bit what Rodgers is doing. I think he felt burned by the last couple of years. You're right, though. He did the Rogan podcast this spring. I can't argue with that. That is as big an audience as you're going to find in America right now.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit? It's like, I know you guys, not a lot of drinkers here on the show, but Manny and I will know this. Like when you go a little too hard on a night and then you wake up the next day and you're like, I'm never drinking again.
Yes, I just experienced that. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Now I'm speaking your language, Manny. Or you're like, I'm never drinking vodka ever again. That's it. I will never drink vodka again. I think Rodgers, and then what happens? You don't really stick to that stuff, or it's very hard to stick to that.
3 days later.
3 days later, here you are, and your body's healed and your mind's better, and now all of a sudden, all right, we're back on the vodka tonic.
Well, amen.
By the way, the reason I don't drink is because I woke up the next morning and said, let's do it again tonight. I never had that. I never had the I'm not drinking again take.
Yes, I'll let you explain that stuff. But the analogy, I think this is like Rodgers. He's like, that's it. No more public eye. Like, you can't help yourself.
Yeah.
2 days later, you're going to be back there on McAfee. They're going to ask you about aliens. You're going to say you think they built the pyramids or whatever, and we're going to be back into the same thing.
Yeah.
My dog.
It's kind of hard to argue against that if he has a really good conspiracy theory he has to share, is he going to be able to keep it to himself?
No, they're making references to the Epstein case yesterday.
You know what I will say, though? He reminds me of one other very public figure who has kind of gone to the background. In fact, he was kind of in the news yesterday. And that's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, he's doing his little streams now on his I don't know if it's Twitch or whatever he's doing, but that's a guy who was really out there trying to explain to us peasants how he knew things that we just didn't understand and couldn't understand. And he's kind of been very quiet. And he's kind of.
What are you doing at home? Are you going to Cancun?
Keep your third eye open, EJ. This is all just setting up for some other big
I think
thing.
Pro may be right. I think these guys that maybe put themselves out there maybe got a little burned and they realized, you know what, it's not worth it for me. So I don't know if I believe Rodgers, but that's one example of somebody who did definitely take a step back. And I wonder if Rodgers maybe saw what happened with Kyrie and said, you know what, maybe I got to do the same thing.
Well, I grew up with Steve Carlton was a pitcher for the Phillies, famous pitcher, Hall of Famer. And he disappeared from the public eye. And 10 years later, Philadelphia Magazine had a feature, and he's wearing a tinfoil hat, and he's blocking radars. He became a massive conspiracy theorist.
Oh, no way.
Disappeared. Did you know? You
I
didn't
did know that. No.
Steve Carlton seriously disappeared, to a ranch in Wyoming, and very dangerous conspiracy theories. Honestly, was literally he was worried about the waves, so he had tinfoil all over his house.
He literally was wearing a tinfoil hat? That's a little too on the nose.
It was crazy.
In Wyoming?
I do think that there is some unpredictability about this kind of worldview. But I also, let's talk about the wife. If it is the woman from the Netflix documentary.
Yeah, that's my theory.
Yes, it's a good theory. But she wouldn't be Brittany with an eye. There's no way she's a Brittany.
You don't think there's a couple Britneys with an eye at an ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica? That's where the Brittany with an eye convention is happening.
Brittany with an I is at a mall in New Jersey, not at a coast. No, that's not a Brittany with an I spot.
Two things can be true,
Hey,
people.
welcome to the.
question.
I'm your guru, and this is Brittany. No,
Apologies to all the Britneys, by the way.
Yeah,
I told
that's
you
not
guys,
a Brittany spot.
I have a Brittany with an I in my life, and she's just too cool for all of us on the show.
Is she doing ayahuasca? No, Brittany with an I is not a. Anyway, yeah, maybe she's gotten to him. It's kind of like, it feels a little like John Lennon and Yoko Ono to me. You know how Yoko took John
People
down
love that relationship.
down a completely different path.
So one of the, I think it's a fair point, EJ, about Kyrie Irving, who signed a $122 million deal yesterday with the Dallas Mavericks. So he's obviously back in, the good graces, if you will. And he's been back in for a while. I think it's when you get outside the team, because you're right, a lot to lose. A lot of people might be in your ear. Hey, maybe we need to tone it down on this, that, the other. Once you retire, though, all those guardrails are gone. So for Rodgers,
I'll tell you right now, I know Kyrie is a fact is going to have a crazy journey because he's like, his brain is kind of nonstop in a way. Like I could see him going to Nepal and doing all kinds of things with his life. And I'm sure they might seem weird, but I think they're kind of wired the same way. That's a good analogy.
Yep.
I mean, they actually remind me of each other now that you mention it.
Yeah, they have. I
Seekers.
mean, it's funny because they kind of both went down their paths at the same time.
Yeah,
they're in many ways there's a lot of parallels between those careers. So that's a very good point, Maggie, about Rodgers retiring, Kyrie still playing. So that is definitely a difference. But again, I think both gentlemen were burned badly by what happened. And those are prideful dudes. Like, I don't think that those guys want to be out there having people saying, hey, you suck and we hate you.
Right.
Like, those are people that, to me, want to be liked. Like, that's why they were out there, right? Was to try to tell people, hey, follow me. I'm a leader. And then it turns out people don't want to really follow them.
But one point, who's Aaron Rodgers most closely parallel in his life?
you think Favre.
Brett Favre.
But not in his personal life. They're not close. There's nothing about the personal lives that match
like
up
a country
to me.
boy.
Yeah. And Favre, Rodgers is famously single. Favre's been married. I know, obviously, the Jen Sturger stuff and other things, but Favre has had, substance abuse issues. Now the whole thing in Mississippi. Like, Rodgers doesn't do it.
Rodgers never had a substance in his life.
No, well, that's a fair point. Are you abusing ayahuasca like you would a painkiller?
Anyway, but Rodgers I think they're emotional in a sense, and Favre had 2 fake retirements. I don't even necessarily buy if he plays really well. Who knows? I think just because he says, "Yeah, I'm probably it" on the Pat McAfee show in June. That's the other thing too. He seems prone to a false retirement to me. I mean, could you see him coming back?
Never drink it again.
Yeah, exactly. It's consistent with what you're saying.
Yeah. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. See you guys on the phones. Want to weigh in on this? Rodgers setting up for a farewell tour.
I said, you don't know me.
I think we do know him. But, could this lead to good things for Pittsburgh? Let's bring it back to the football.
And he said, you don't know me. And then I said, exactly.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Is this setting up to be a magical final season for Aaron Rodgers?
With a lot of love.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds. All right. This is Terry Bradshaw on the guitar. I kind of vaguely remember, I saw the Football Life on him. Welcome back, Maggie Perloff, where he had a big country music thing. He was so popular. He's great in that movie. What's the movie Failure to Launch with Matthew McConaughey? It plays a dad where he's married to, I think, Kathy Bates. Oh, Terry Bradshaw, really good actor. Yeah. Has mixed reviews as a studio host these days.
Well, I mean, he's like an American icon. And the reason why Manny is dabbling into Terry Bradshaw's music career today is because Mount Olympus moves to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yin's ready? We're doing the 4 sports gods from Pittsburgh. And now the Pittsburgh music also gets
I got to tell you, Pittsburgh music, it's kind of like Phoenix music yesterday.
Yeah, we're going heavy on like 2 or 3 people today.
That's okay.
Who's the big? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Wiz Khalifa? Well, let's not give it all away, but I mean, Wiz Khalifa, Mac Miller, that's pretty much the entire list.
Are there any rock people or any country music people?
Can I give you Christina Aguilera?
Nope.
Yes. She's huge.
Yeah, I'm not my kind of music.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Listen, there's Christina Aguilera and Wiz Khalifa. You could do worse.
There's a bunch of
Christina Aguilera.
You can't do that much
She's
worse.
She's genie in a bottle, man.
You don't like Christina Aguilera?
Well, I'm just saying, for a major city, you produce Wiz Khalifa and Christina Aguilera. I mean,
a lot of
look
jazz.
at Houston. We did Houston the other day.
A lot of jazz artists out of Pittsburgh, though, but I don't know if jazz is quite the rejoin music.
Oh, we could try it.
All right, we'll
Jazz artists out of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
You mean Harlem?
According to the always trusty Wikipedia.
Oh, God, Manny. We need to get you a second source.
I mean, honestly,
AI overview.
A third source.
if we're going to rank our Mount Olympus's music, this is towards the bottom. But now the question is, in 5 years, will Aaron Rodgers be there after he leads the Steelers to a, what, how many rings would they have? That'd be
7.
7, yeah.
No.
4 in the 70s. Yeah, I don't think it's happening, but Maggie's floated out a Last Dance kind of thing. Who's Pippen in this Last Dance?
TJ Watt. I'm trying to. I'm
TJ
trying,
Watt is Jordan.
Mike Tomlin.
I'm trying not to fall for it, but I find myself getting sucked in by this last ride, last rodeo type thing.
There is no thing. No one's doing that except you. Sucked in.
And Rodgers is doing it. He said, "This is it. This is probably the last year." He didn't sign a contract beyond this year. Let's get to Bill. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Last Dance applies all sorts of things. You said it. Last Dance applies. We're all in to win one more championship. Rodgers like, yeah, you know what? Why not play another year of football?
I think they all have to be feeling a little bit. I mean, Cam Hayward would probably tell you that. I don't know what TJ Watt's situation is. He's still not there because of contract stuff. Tomlin's already been there for, creeping up on 20 years. Yeah, there's definitely pressure. Bill is in Houston. Bill, what do you think? Rodgers last year, could it be successful? Bill.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, man. What do you think about Rodgers last season?
I think it's going to be terrible. Let me tell you why. He's the greatest quarterback I think I've ever seen, but that's a long time ago. So he's searching for some higher purpose and higher meaning in life, psychedelics, sitting in a cave for days on end. And then on the other hand, he's disruptive to his team. He's criticizing teammates. He's on media all the time, and I think it's just going to bleed over into Pittsburgh. And on top of all that, he's a year older, and I don't think he's ever going to be the same or even a shadow of the same quarterback he was. Jordan had the last dance.
Yeah.
Had the last.
Bill, I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. You think this could be more like Jordan with the Wizards. Although that wasn't really disruptive. It was just not that memorable.
Yeah.
I guess maybe he wanted Kwame Brown, so I guess maybe that's disruptive. But
I mean, that's a great question. Is this closer to the Last Dance of the Bulls or the forgettable Wizard years? I think if we put that poll, actually, we should put that poll up. I think the Wizards would win that poll.
But don't you think there's a Steelers aspect? And I've said the Steelers are just like everyone else now. They don't have, that aura is kind of maybe fading a little bit because of basically the quarterback situation. But let's be honest, they are still one of those franchises that stable, well-run. We might nitpick about personnel decisions and things like that, but they're not. We talked yesterday. We put up a question. What's the worst run organization in sports? And boy, did we get a lot of responses. They're not anywhere close to that conversation. Yeah. They're one of the best run organizations.
Yes, but lately they have not been run well in the sense that they've had 2 terrible offensive coordinators in a row. Mike Tomlin just seems to want to win every game with defense. And, yeah, I don't think the front office, I like this front office. I think they make smart picks, but they've made some mistakes. So I think that they're not on a high right now. I understand what you're saying, but I think you look at the way they've been run the last 5 years has not been ideal. They've been kind of average, and that's where their record is every year, kind of meh. It's funny. Why did the Steelers, I always wonder, how did the Steelers get Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and not win at the highest possible level? Because all the leaders from the Super Bowl team, Troy Polamalu, James Harrison, James Ferrier, they were gone. I think we misread this team. They brought in a bunch of knuckleheads on offense and thought we're going to win this way, and it's not going to work. It feels more like that.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Will this presumed last season be a successful one for Aaron Rodgers? Andrew Bogish is here. Harrowing morning for you. You all right?
Oh, yeah. I'm not harrowing, just annoying.
My God.
Trains taking me to places that they weren't supposed to take me.
Oh,
I got to tell you, I had a worse commute. It was and you guys have probably had the same thing. My Uber driver had to take an Uber, cars in the shop. Almost took me on the Holland Tunnel. We had to cut.
We had to cut New Jersey, just FYI, for the rest of America.
From New York to Jersey.
You
had
don't
to cut
want to
off
be in there.
4 cars to turn right. I'm like, I think this is a Holland Tunnel only lane. Has that ever happened anywhere?
Yes.
I've almost done it myself.
Yeah, I've almost done it too. I have done it. I've gone to Jersey.
That thing calls to you, the mouth of that tunnel, just like, come.
Tractor beam.
It's like the sirens in what's the Iliad or something that make you crash, make your boat crash into the rocks. That's what the Holland Tunnel is for people. Come to Jersey. And they just pow.
I've done it. I've driven to Jersey and had to drive right back because I got lost in the lower west side of Manhattan. It's the worst. And that almost happened today. Oof.
Have you decided what you're doing with your car? Are you going to invest in the car that's in the shop or are you going to get a new one?
They've given up on fixing my car, by the way. Wow. Not that anyone wants to hear my car woes. So it's sitting in the shop. But I have a question. They know that I have to buy a new car, so they're not going to give me a good deal. So that's what I'm worried about.
Got it.
Because I have no leverage here because I can't drive my car out of their garage.
But you're not going to buy the car from them.
I think I am. Well, how else? I can't drive it to another dealership.
Oh, it's at the dealer. I thought it was at a mechanic.
No, it's not at a mechanic. No. It's at a dealership. So we're working on this.
Okay.
Well, you could get it towed.
I'm going to get it
somewhere and then push it off a cliff. I don't know. What do you want to do with it?
Yeah, I could just leave it there.
Yeah, and then go somewhere else and buy a different car.
Yeah, I could do that. Just yeah, you're right. I don't know what to do here. It's very depressing.
I have AAA. You want to borrow my? I think I can.
I do. I have AAA too.
Okay.
Yeah, this is. I don't know. I'm not a car guy too. I'm definitely not in my realm. I feel like I'm going to go to deep Brooklyn to buy a car off one of these salesmen.
You might as well just play 3-card Monty in Times Square.
They're gonna see a sucker walking into that room.
And it's tough for you because not to go down stereotypes and along classic gender lines here, but
go ahead.
You and then you share your nuclear family is all women. So I don't know if Sarah is a big car person. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say no. And then you have your two daughters. Like there's no cavalry coming to help you with this car decision either.
We might put the 13-year-old in there and see if she has any. What, my teenage daughters are going to come in and help? No. Yeah, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. They're going to upsell me on some new warranty.
$10,000 over sticker. Deal.
Yeah.
It's funny because sometimes with like little boys, as no, because I'm raising one now. Like they get really into cars.
Oh, okay. So, like, you're going to bring him
like
into
Hot Wheels
the
and Matchbox?
No, like, I know the people down the street, their kid can just hear the car coming down the street and know what car it is.
Mama, that's a Honda Civic.
Yeah, something like that.
And just to follow that logic, would that family bring him to the Hyundai dealership? Be like, yeah, I mean, you can't get one over on Billy.
It's like, you should get a Ferrari. Wow, good advice.
It's the alternator. Trust me, it's the alternator.
Yeah, right.
Meanwhile, I've gotten closer to EJ. I've lived in New York so long. EJ, you don't drive at all, do you?
No. Subway, bus if I could avoid it, but bus. Andrea drives though, so it's not like we don't drive anywhere.
Do you know how to drive?
Yeah.
Do you want to learn?
Yeah. Plans to try to learn this year.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy to the rest of America listening that people don't drive, like adults don't drive?
No, my cousin was born and raised in New York. She's probably 55, raised 3 kids, no clue.
Yeah, my mother-in-law doesn't have has a license for ID purposes, but has never had a driver's license.
Yeah, it is very different from maybe the rest of the country.
Definitely it is.
I mean, I learned how to drive when I was like 14.
Yeah, I can't fathom learning how to drive now, EJ. That's weird.
Learning a new
Well,
language.
and New York. Here, let's take you on the FDR.
Yeah, that's how I learned.
You got to go out to the burbs, man.
I have a friend John who learned at 30, a New Yorker, and you don't get in the car with that dude. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, he has a license.
Fred John?
A friend, John. Friend.
Okay.
I have a friend named John who learned at 31 or something. Just watch out. And if you know he's on the road, stay home. You guys know those people just can't drive.
Yeah, just hit the brakes so much that you feel like you're going to vomit.
Or will like merge into traffic and not really understand what they're doing.
Oh, God. I can't even.
And how do you let teenagers drive? That is beyond
Are you going to teach your daughters? Lucy's
Yeah,
almost there.
Lucy is 14.
She doesn't have a car right now, though. How is she going to learn?
Oh, she's 14 and she's counting the days. She's like, and I'm like, you're going to drive in New York City? I can barely drive in New York City. You learned? Did you get on the FDR as a kid? Or is that serious?
I went to high school in Manhattan. We took driver's ed in Manhattan.
Well, you were also learning how to drive in the 1800s, so there wasn't
It
a lot
was
of
actually
traffic.
2000. So,
Weren't you terrified?
Yeah. Especially the first time it happened, there were 2 kids from my school and 2 girls from the neighboring all-girls school, and one of them
City.
No, I'm amazing. I know I know exactly where the traffic's going to be at all. Amazing. I know exactly where the traffic's going to be at all times. Because
Everywhere.
I drove up and down to the Dan Patrick Show, which is up in Connecticut. So there's a series of highways, and nobody knows better than Andrew Perloff. I know every pothole on the BQE. I'm really good at I can beat an Uber driver anywhere.
I'm going to be
faster.
honest. Perloff and I have driven to Foxborough a couple times where our Sports Illustrated days. You do know how to get to New England very easily.
Oh, New England's great.
Perloff and I are going to have an I-95 off from this area to Connecticut.
Well,
because nobody knows I-95 quite like this guy.
Not to bring up old stuff, but at some point you're going to have to drive to San Antonio. Now, that Connecticut muscle memory is not going to help. It's the wrong direction. But.
Well, the key to that drive.
West, don't forget.
Yeah, Chicago and then down.
I have to avoid rush hours in cities. That's the key to a cross-country drive.
Yep, you're right.
You got to just make sure that you're on the road at the right time.
Oh, now that your car's in the shop, there's no way you can go cross.
This is never happening.
It is happening, guys.
It's not.
We got to make it happen.
Listen, it's not our fault that Greg Popovich went through a serious health concern and then Wembanyama did.
Excuses. This guy's not doing it.
There are a lot of things going on in Texas in the fall that I want to be a part of. So,
like football,
there's a bunch of music festivals.
Right.
There's a lot of things going on.
And the last one that you brought up, we were like, oh, and you can go see Wemby. You're like, oh, right. You're not even thinking about it anymore. You just want to go to Texas.
He just wants to go to see the Red River rivalry.
Yeah.
But that's fine. You can do both.
That's great. That's a great excuse.
Bunch of games I want to see. I mean, Arch is down in Austin. Who's with me?
I know.
I'll fly down there.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll meet you there. I can't do the road trip.
You know, who's with me to be there, not to drive there?
I would have been. Remember?
I know.
Oh, yes. Bogish would have been there with you.
Jeez.
A lot of Dave Matthews.
Oh, boy.
Jeez.
All right, let's pause on that for a second. We'll get some headlines because it was very busy yesterday. By the way, this whole exciting NBA offseason got cooking a little bit more yesterday. We got the draft coming up tonight, and we've got some news out of Cleveland. So lots to do. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Why would they do that?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining.
Lost in the fog of both. Google sweeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining.
Left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right. Can't catch a break.
45 seconds remaining.
Trip, dream shattered. For goodness sake. For goodness sake. Goku's counting the minutes.
30 seconds remaining.
Cruising highway.
15 seconds.
The city's calling your name.
Break ends in 5 seconds.
Stop playing life's cruel game. What a girl wants, what a girl needs, whatever makes me happy sets you free.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, taking center stage today. That means Christina Aguilera and our Mount Olympus, the four sports gods from Pittsburgh at 8 o'clock Eastern time.
You know, Taylor's from Wyalusing / Reading, right? That's not that far from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think he's right.
Wow, it's closer to
more
Philly. It's definitely closer to Philly, but I think they could maybe claim her a little bit. Kind of like I claim Penn State as a local Philadelphia team.
Yeah.
No, not
Gotta
really.
really drive to get there. Okay, so a couple things for you. Aaron Rodgers also making news out of Pittsburgh. Yesterday's on the Pat McAfee Show saying this is likely the last season for him. So do you think this could be a magical last season? And he says after he's done playing, that's it. He's going, his words, Kaiser Sose. He's just going to blend right in to the world, and you're never going to hear from him again.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Good luck with all that. Andrew Bogish is here, and you're welcome to weigh in at 888-710-4ISN. What's up, folks?
So we've got headlines sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. So we've got the Celtics fire sale, so to speak, continuing. Kristaps Porzingis now on the move to the Hawks through a deal that also involves the Nets. Attached to the Jrue Holiday trade, the Celtics shaving roughly $200 million of luxury taxes off their books. We also had the Pelicans and Wizards doing some business yesterday. New Orleans gets Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the 40th pick tomorrow night, while Washington ends up with C.J. McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second-rounder. McCollum and Olynyk are on expiring contracts, so the Wizards could have $100 million in cap space next summer. The question being, who will want that money from the Wizards?
Lots of people.
Kyrie Irving is declining his $43 million option for the coming season in Dallas, instead signing a 3-year deal worth $119 million. Kyrie now has a player option in the summer of 2028.
The life of a martyr, bro.
Some of us went to sleep when the Mets were leading the Braves 3-0 last night, so let's see what the final score was in Queens.
Dicky Lovelady brings the 0-2, and Olsen whips one in the right center field into the gap. That's going to continue to roll. Acuna off to the races. Hits the bag at third. Here he comes to the plate. Mets hit the cutoff man. RBI double. Matt Olson hitting him where it hurts tonight, and it's 6-3 Braves in in the 8th.
That's Braves radio, and yes, the Mets were using a gentleman named Dickie Lovelady to pitch last night.
Doesn't love some good Dickie Lovelady.
No.
You know this is like this is the ultimate lean in, right? Because
name's Richard, right?
Well, yeah, but the parents, like we had this conversation over the weekend on our text thread about what is the responsibility when you're a parent and you've got Lovelady as your last name.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with the first name? And they're like, we shall call him Richard.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing.
Right.
You know the possibility, at least, that, and now he's, to his credit, is like, you know what? Don't call me Rick. Let's not even go Dick. Let's go Dickie and really make fun of it.
Yep. He's all in, for good or for bad. And this is a new, this happened Tuesday of last week when he made the switch from Richard to Dickie.
Oh, really? This is new.
This is new. He was Richard Lovelady for a while. And I'm not kidding. When the Mets announced, I think, either signing him or bringing him up, they said he would like to be known as Dickie.
I saw that headline. I was like, really?
Yeah.
No, because this is like a survival technique that you need for going back to high school, right? You've got to be part of the joke or else you're going to drive yourself nuts.
I guess, but somehow, some way, this guy at an advanced age, deep into his pro career, was like, it's gonna be Dickie moving forward.
This is a very baseball thing to me. I feel like baseball players would do this. I can't imagine most other sports guys doing this.
I mean, Grady Dick really kind of is in on the joke.
Trading jerseys with other guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Based on how inappropriate it can be.
But changing the name, though, or going by a different name just to make it even more weird.
Maybe.
I feel like that's baseball guys I feel like some of the more eccentric athletes we have in professional sports.
Yeah, hockey too is they just throw Y's on the end of things. He would be Dickie Lovelady if he was a hockey player too.
I can see that too.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of people out there who have last names that you just have to think about it. You sent us one over the weekend.
Yeah, there's a player at Fairfield women's basketball. Her name is Jacqueline Sackrider.
That was super viral.
Yeah, and and I think you rightly so, and all of us were like, that's a bad job by the parents or the family or something.
It's like 3 generations ago, you got to realize this can't be our last name moving forward.
Yeah, you're going through Ellis Island. Everyone else is getting their last names changed. Just go to Ryder.
Yeah.
Or Cider.
Anything other than what it is. And it is those 2 words just put together.
Okay, so for Jacqueline, who is playing basketball where?
Fairfield.
Okay, at Fairfield University, she's had to have a coping mechanism for this going back to the moment this becomes funny, which is what, 3rd grade?
Yeah, I think that's fair for everyone knowing what.
Right.
Yeah.
You probably made it through kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. By 3rd grade, somebody's older brother was like, Zach, right?
Her name's Jalen, by the way. Jalen.
It doesn't matter. Her last name is what we're focusing on here.
We're doing Jalen for girls now, too?
Jalyn. Jalen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway.
Everybody's Jalen now, Maggie.
Everyone's Jalen. It's the new Michael. But here, she knows, right? Just like Dickie Lovelady knows. It's not new. You have to come up with some kind of barbed wire for this to get through high school.
Or maybe she was just so nice in basketball that, she didn't face all the funny jokes or whatever. Like, if you're the jock, it's kind of hard to... I'm sure anybody wants to make jokes. You could probably stuff them in a locker, right?
Yeah, right. That's true. I think about that with football players sometimes, like Willie Gay and stuff like that. I'm like, step to him. See what happens.
Yeah, there was a guy in my high school, Brandon Butt, B-U-T-T, but, he was a good football player. Who was going to step to Brandon Butt? And he was a nice guy. Super nice guy. Who's going to make fun of him?
They've always said that about him.
Mets lost, by the way, last night. I don't know if I mentioned that. 7-4.
Why'd you have to mention that? You did not have to.
They have now lost 10 of 11. They're 0-5 against Atlanta this season.
The Mets have lost 10 of 11?
Yes.
Phillies lost last night, though. 1-0 in Houston, so that helps.
Yankees lost, too, so we're all wallowing in despair.
I have a question about Brandon Butt.
Yeah.
If your last name's Butt, do you have to go a lot bigger on the first name? So it's like, it's something really distracting on the first name, and then you don't even realize the last name's Butt?
I don't know, because we have Jake Butt, right, who's a Michigan player. They also went kind of simple. Maybe you do go simple.
I don't know. Maybe it could be like his name's Xavier.
Andrew Ryan Butt.
A.R. Butt. All right. More next.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Get back to Aaron Rodgers in a moment, but the NBA draft is tonight. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. No drama at the top, though, Pearl. It's Cooper Flagg to Dallas. 100% happening. He's the generational talent that the NBA has been waiting on.
Yes, but is he that talented? I think is the question. Generational talent implies that he's going to win a championship, right? That's what happens in the NBA.
Yep.
I don't know. I just don't know what you do with Cooper Flagg. Is he the next Giannis? Like, is he going to single-handedly take a team? Is he a 1A on a championship team? That is still up for debate.
So let's hear what LeBron James had to say about Cooper Flagg. You'll remember where Flagg was actually with the Team USA, it was the Olympic team, before they went to Paris and eventually won the gold. Here's James saying he was impressed by Flagg at that Team USA workout.
He's a big-time talent.
Yeah. Said something about his mentality. What did you notice practicing with him? What did you notice about his mentality?
Oh, he just made winning. He's a winner. It just seemed like he make winning plays. He just make winning plays. And even at his first year at Duke, he, just made winning plays. Yeah. And obviously, the fact that he was the freshman and I think he was player of the year this year as well, ACC player of the year, and I just thought he just played the game the right way.
So Flagg, to his credit, Perloff, yesterday was doing some media availability, and he said when the first thing he stepped onto the court, when he first got onto the court for some of those Team USA practices, he had to guard LeBron James.
Oh, that's funny.
No one asked the follow-up question, what happened, but did he get smoked or not? More from James saying having the established Hall of Famers around Cooper Flagg, he's talking about Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, now Jason Kidd with Dallas, that will help him.
He has the benefit, unlike myself, he gets to join a team that's established with Hall of Fame guys, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, right off the bat, Hall of Fame coach Jason Kidd. These guys are like, they can give him the whole blueprint while he continues to learn what his blueprint will be.
Interesting. But I mean, I didn't even consider in my mind that those guys would all be playing together at any time. I know they're all on the same roster, but Anthony Davis, Kyrie, like those guys are going to be hurt, 3 weeks into the season? Like, what are we talking about here?
Away. No.
Well, I mean, he's so young, Cooper Flagg, which is interesting about him. Like, his peak is going to be nowhere near these guys. It's interesting. Like, it's funny. No one's talking about Cooper helping the Mavs win right now.
Okay, but why can't this be like a Kawhi Leonard situation where Kawhi came in with an aging San Antonio Spurs roster and ends up becoming Finals MVP for that last Tim Duncan championship?
But because it took Kawhi about, 4 years? With Cooper Flagg, how long do you have with Kyrie, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson? 4 months?
Well, I mean, maybe more than that. But
they seem like an old, brittle team. It's interesting. Like, yeah, he'll learn, but I don't think they're all going to put it together in time. It's a rush. I mean, those guys are not young. Kyrie signed this deal. I'm like, ooh, he's going to be old by the end of this deal.
I understand that, but Flagg seems so far ahead of where a lot of guys are who come in this age. Like, he just turned, 19 during the season, and he reclassified to get into this class earlier, and he had a great quote yesterday. He goes, my mom always said, if you're the best guy in the gym, find a new gym. Like, he had already outgrown high school, goes to college, has an excellent season at Duke, wins Player of the Year. He's ready. Like, I don't know.
Ready for what?
To contribute to a team that is a playoff team, for sure. I don't know about championship contender.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
But do the Dallas Mavericks have any right to be calling themselves anywhere close to a championship contender? You just traded away your generational player who took you to the finals. Like, who's thinking Mavericks and championship right now?
I mean, they have no choice but to think that because of the age of their players, though.
Well, Nico Harrison was. He thought that was when it happened, it was a win-now move, right?
To trade away Luka?
Yeah, they're like, well, we can win because we have Kyrie. Yeah, it was absolutely like an all-in kind of move.
The all-in move was trading the guy away who was your best player.
Well, right, but you were, Nico
that was all crap. Like, that was all. That was because they didn't want to pay Luka because they thought that he was like not a hard worker and that he was going to, take all this money from them, I think, and not be able to deliver again.
No, but they thought they were going to pair Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, and they knew the window was really, really short because they're toward the end. But I think he said, I think we can win right now because we're going to get good on defense, and we still have Kyrie. So we have plenty of scoring, and then we have one of the best defensive players. But that was that's how we thought of it then. You don't remember that?
No, I do, but that's like obvious. That's trying to save yourself. To me, that's trying to save and put lipstick on a pig of a situation where you traded away Luka Doncic in the middle of the night.
No, I think Nico thought, I can win a title with this team.
Well,
he definitely did. I mean, actually, you probably could. If you got all those guys healthy, yeah, they'd be sick.
that's not going to happen.
I understand that.
They're never going to be healthy. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. So expectations for Cooper Flagg, let's put them to the side. Shockingly, stunningly, the biggest story heading into tonight's draft has nothing to do with a guy from Duke or a guy from Carolina. It's Rutgers. Rutgers University is now the center of the basketball world for the draft, and we're so excited to bring in our friend and pal Jerry Recco, who is a host and update anchor on WFAN, but also the voice of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Jerry, thanks so much for the time.
Well, I'm like 10 feet away. Why not? What's going on, guys? How are you?
I know you were the easiest booking we've ever had in the history of the show, but we want to get your opinion because everyone around the country is probably hearing about Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. Unfortunately, a lot of people around the country probably didn't see these guys too often because they did not make the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
So let's start with Ace Bailey because he's getting a lot of the attention because he's canceled some workouts, has not worked out with any NBA teams. Let's just start with the player himself. Give us an overview of Ace Bailey, strengths and weaknesses, and what you saw as being the voice of Rutgers.
Weakness, defense. Strengths, everything else.
Okay.
I think I think his ceiling is through the roof. Really good player, loves basketball. Everybody that asks, this is what I tell them. This will be my 10th year at Rutgers. I did other basketball for 10 years prior in college. I have never seen a kid that loves to be in the gym, that wants to play basketball more than Ace Bailey. Just loves the game, which is why like this whole workout thing, which we'll get to, is odd to me because I never became best friends with him. I don't want to claim that by any stretch, but I was in hotels, buses, arenas, practices. This ain't him. Like, he just wants to play. So I don't know what kind of direction he's getting, but I think he is going to be a fabulous NBA player.
He loves being in the gym. He doesn't love interviews, apparently. Can you?
Yeah, but
so what's going on there? Are you implying it's the agent or his advisor?
I think it's whatever or whoever he hired is kind of guiding this because the kid himself never shied away from anything and just wants to play. And you are hearing some of those clips come out from the last couple of days that it's about basketball. It's not about this other stuff. I get that to a certain degree, but he hasn't helped himself in terms of draft status and stock like that.
Yeah, I mean, so Jerry Recco is here with us. He's the voice of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights men's basketball team. He also works at WFAN as a host and an update anchor. And, Rutgers you're going to hear a lot about tonight because Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper are both projected to be, at one point, top 3 picks, now maybe top 5. How dangerous do you think this could be for Bailey, as by your accounts, a good kid who loves basketball, but this could backfire if you don't play the game of the pre-draft process? Look at Shedeur Sanders on the football side, dropped to the 5th round because of maybe some dicey pre-draft stuff.
Yeah, listen, I'm a Nets fan. I want him in Brooklyn, and I think he would be a great fit there. Maybe with their 5 first-round picks, they do something to trade up to 4 or 5 to get him, or 3. I don't know, maybe with Philly. I don't know. But yeah, it was basically Flagg, Harper, or Bailey at 2, and then Harper or Bailey at 3. And this is kind of, it seems like, pushed him down a peg 2 or 3. I don't know. Does it hurt? Sure. He wasn't going to be the number 1 overall pick anyway. But wherever he goes, I promise you he is going to be a great player.
Right, so
I really believe that.
You never saw anything entitled. You never saw that he was mailing anything in. No. Okay.
No.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, how did he lose 3 inches? What happened there? And you didn't believe the show. He was listed at 6'10", 6'11". He was listed at 6'10", 6'11". They measured 6'7" and a half.
I'd say he's not 6'7".
You kept saying that. We had to say, what? Explain the measurement.
I've stood next to him. I've stood next to people that are 6'7".
So that combine thing was wrong?
I'm not saying he's 7 feet. He's not 6'7". You want to tell me he's not 6'11"? I'll buy that. The whole Kevin Durant thing. I'm 7 foot. I'm not 7 foot. Like, I get that.
He went to the combine and measured 6'7" and a half.
Wait, but is this a shoes, not shoes thing?
He was without shoes.
That's why. Listen, I've been next to him. He's a big dude, and he rises above everybody. He can get his shot anywhere, anytime on the floor. I tell you, he's not 6'11". He's not 6'7".
But it's an actual measurement, Jerry.
I'm telling you, he's not 6'7".
Jerry Recco is here. He's arguing about a couple inches with Ace Bailey and his height. Yeah. Okay. So Ace Bailey is obviously one of the big stories because he may be getting some bad advice, or maybe it's good advice from an agent to not work out for teams and try to steer himself. People think maybe to Brooklyn, maybe to Washington, maybe to Charlotte or the Pelicans. We're not sure. Let's go to Dylan Harper.
Sure.
Because nobody is, there's not a bad thing to say about Harper. No weirdness there. He's projected to go 2 overall to go pair with Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. Point guard, Dylan Harper, Ron Harper's son. You remember, a 5-time NBA champion. Tell us a profile of Dylan Harper. Who's he like?
Slasher. I mean, I don't even compare him to anybody. He is just, give me the ball. I'm going to get to the rim, and I'm going to get to the foul line, or I'm going to finish at the rim and get to the foul line. Not a great shooter, but a good shooter. Again, I would say defensively, if you ask for the weakness, it would be defense. Both of them need help. I mean, they're young. They're 18, 19 years old. Defense was not their forte. But he is a guy that when he's got the ball in his hands, he can control a game. And I'm sure at some point before we wrap up here in a couple of minutes, the question will be, well, then why didn't it go so well at Rutgers? 15 wins. And I get that. The easy answer for me would be we never really saw it long enough together.
Yeah, were they hurt or sick? What happened?
So, Dylan missed time with an illness. Like, he missed the Indiana game due to illness, and I know he wanted to play in that game out there. Now, that would be a game I would tell you, if you're going to pick Ace Bailey, go watch that game. The guy couldn't miss, and it was one of the – I know they lost by a few points, played a spectacular game, but we never saw it. He was sick for that game. He had an ankle injury. He tried to play against Michigan State at the Garden. I played 4 or 5 minutes and couldn't do it. Then when he finally got back, re-injured himself, first 3 minutes at Penn State. There were several games. You might say, well, he played all these games. Yeah, but never at all. There was probably a chunk, I would say, of 4 weeks where he was not 100%. There were times when they were good together. There were times where they tried to make it work. We didn't see 30 games of them together at full strength. And that to me is a shame.
Okay, so
when you only get 1 year.
And you think Dylan Harper gonna
great player,
and no issues there. Okay, last thing for you. I know you got to go over to WFAN. You are the voice of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. This is very exciting to have two guys going this high in the draft. You've also seen a lot of other guys with that Big Ten schedule. Is there another player that you saw this year, whether it's Will Riley, whether it's Derek Queen from Maryland?
It's not go ahead. Even now. The thing about Queen that's interesting is when I watched him up close and personal, he reminded me of an old school center, big guy. They don't really play that way anymore.
Yeah.
But he also can shoot the three, which does work in today's NBA. He is a huge body. He gets up and down the floor. If you're asking me for one guy that stood out, it's not even a question outside of our two. It was Derek Queen at Maryland.
Any issues with the fact that he wears a baggy long sleeve shirt under his jersey, Andrew Perloff style?
It's a good look. It's different. I'm all good with it.
I wore it because I was scrawny, and I had to wear the T-shirt. Like, I couldn't go, so I was always a T-shirt guy.
By the way, to wrap this up, and it's Rutgers, Maryland, there's a great example. Rutgers at Maryland, things couldn't be going better. They're playing well on the road. The place is packed. Maryland had just started playing really well. And right when the second half began, we noticed Ace with a towel over his head. He got sick, like flu-like symptoms at halftime.
Oh, boy.
Didn't play the second half, and then Maryland won. And I'm not saying they wouldn't have won the game anyway, but that went from a back and forth, thrilling first half to now we got to figure it out without one of the big two out of nowhere. That was kind of that game encapsulated the season.
I felt like the Rutgers needed some Purell this season. I just kept hearing a lot about sickness.
And think about during the pandemic, no one missed any time. Like, they could not have stayed healthier. Yeah, it was.
But then the
tough
tournament
year.
got canceled.
Did you go down? Did you get sick too?
No, I made it through the whole year as well. This year I did go down. Yes, I got the flu and COVID.
Oh,
same
Jerry.
season.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, snake bitten may be the term for the season for Rutgers, but this is gonna be fun tonight. Enjoy watching the draft. Thanks for coming on to talk about Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper and enlighten our audience about these two Rutgers stars. Thank you so much.
I'm out.
And Jerry Recco going back over to WFAN now, where he is a host and update anchor and the voice of Rutgers.
I got to tell you, I don't care about any of these downsides on Ace Bailey. My 76ers pick at 3, and they're rumored to want VJ Edgecombe, who's good, but give me the upside bus guy. I'm into all of this. The 6'7.5" makes me nervous. So the fact that Jerry says that's not true is odd to me.
Well, remember, like, they measure without shoes.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
He only sees them in shoes, so he probably feels like he's 6'9" when you sit next to him.
Well, right, but he was definitely they overlisted him a little more than you. Everybody's 1 or 2 inches higher in the program. He was 4 inches.
He's listed, I saw online, as 6'8". Like, can we just kind of meet it in the middle?
Well, he was definitely listed at 6'11".
Yeah, I saw.
during
Yeah,
the season.
6'9", 6'10" was I've seen a lot of.
Yeah.
When he came into the season, which again, people think Kevin Durant.
But then I saw him next to Giannis in a workout video that's out. Really cool video. He's clearly not.
No.
He's clearly not a center.
No.
You know, he's a forward for sure. Where people thought he'd be a 4 guy, now he's a 3.
888-710-4ISN. So we're asking you about Cooper Flagg, and do you think he can be a contributor right away? I mean, listen, as a rookie and a second-year guy, you can't expect him to be 1A on a championship team.
No, but will he be there? Is he a future MVP? That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, he's coming in with that kind of hype. And by the way, he is coming in for, this is not fair to him, but sort of like to replace Luka.
Yeah, but
they're not the same player. They're not the same position and style. But I mean, that's kind of the lineage here. Luka's out. Cooper Flagg is the next guy.
Yeah, but there are all these interesting player comps for Cooper Flagg, and none of them are like Luka. What do you get? Scottie Pippen, Kawhi Leonard, Detlef Schrempf, Aaron Gordon, Lamar Odom. Like, nobody knows who this guy is. Nobody's saying he's Luka. He's not going to be a ball first.
No.
He's not going to be a James Harden, Luka Doncic type. So who is he? That's what I don't understand. Like, how do people envision him leading you to a championship? His downside is he's not a shot creator, right? Like, he doesn't have that skill yet. I don't know. I'm very curious. I like him, but I don't know. You have to look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP. Does he remind you of him in any way?
No, but
so
no, he doesn't. But I just don't see why I don't see the negative side there, especially if he's going to be playing with a point guard like Kyrie Irving. Right?
But that's the negative side is if he's a generational pick, who's he going to be? And yes, he'll be playing with Kyrie Irving now, but he's 18. By the time he's at his peak, his championship level years, Kyrie will be long gone. I don't know the answer. Like, can he score 28 points a game and 12 rebounds and 4 blocks?
Well, I mean, probably not his rookie season, but give him a minute.
Ever.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. I mean, when you have guys who are like projected like this, and it doesn't feel like, I'll knock on wood for him about injuries, but, he seems to have his head on straight. Seems like he's been wanting this forever. There's no question marks, no weirdness, nothing, except for what his mom's kind of intense. But I don't think it's going to be anything outside that's going to hold him back.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't trust the Mavericks more than I don't trust Cooper Flagg.
But it's for me, it's more his game, his style. Like, who is he going to be as a player is TBD. Is he going to be a ball handler? Is he going to be a defensive menace? Where is he going to put his skills? It's really interesting. I think every team will use him differently. Obviously, he is a big star. I think the name helps. Cooper Flagg. Isn't that?
Oh, his actual name, not just his height.
Like, kind of like LeBron James. Like, some names just sound like stars. And Cooper Flagg is a cool name to me. And, New Balance has this big Flag Day promotion going on. I think Ace Bailey's name helps him, too. Like, this is a big deal in sports to me.
You got to be blessed with the right name.
Yeah, like Joe Smith, the former number 1 overall pick, he never had a chance. Out of Maryland, no.
Yeah, I know. Tom Brady. It's really been tough for that guy. He had no flashy
what
name.
slow burn
Michael
Brady?
Jordan. I mean, these are not, Aloysius, Sanchez.
You don't think Cooper Flagg is a cool name?
Ace Bailey's also a cool name.
Ace Bailey is a kick-ass name.
I know, but that's a hard name.
Dylan Harper's a pretty cool name, too.
Well, yeah, when your dad's Ron Harper, it helps a little bit.
Dylan Harper could be the heartthrob in a 90s teenage show. Dylan Harper? Come on.
Especially with a Y.
Ace Bailey's also Arius Bailey, which is also hard. He could have went with both. Either one would have been dope.
His real name is Aries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
We haven't seen an Ace in a while.
No, it's not a star name. Role player VJ Edgecombe, who's going to 6.
Come on.
That's a Long Island kid.
He'll be fine.
He's going, I don't know. It's just, I'm not into this
Wait a minute. You always talk about loving Vince Carter, the guy this guy can jump. He might have a 45-inch vertical.
Oh.
He's definitely the best athlete in this draft.
Show me the highlight. I watched his YouTube reel 5 times.
You didn't see him dunk on Mark Few's son? Please tell me you saw that dunk. That was the dunk of the year.
He's okay. I mean, the Sixers have 9 guards. To quote their governor, Josh Shapiro, who went on a rant, like, we have 4 of this guy. Like, what are we doing here? We need a front court star because playoff P's got to retire at some point.
It's June 25th, 7:19. Mark my words. within the first month of the season, VJ Edgecombe's going to have a ridiculous dunk, and Perloff's going to run in here being like, did you see VJ Edgecombe's dunk last night for the Sixers?
Listen,
we're not even taking bets on that. We're not even. It's minus 30,000. It's as much of a lock as Cooper Flagg is to go to the Mavericks. No one take that bet. We know Perloff's going to jump on the bandwagon for VJ Edgecombe the moment he has one dunk.
Fine, I'll tell you right now. I'm definitely not into VJ Edgecombe on the Sixers. Listen, I was in on Zaire Smith for the Sixers because he's the best dunker to come out of college in 20 years, and he stunk. So
he was terrible.
He's terrible. So I tell you right now, I want Ace Bailey. I'll go on the record, or Con Knippel.
I was going to say, we're talking about great names, and you didn't bring up Con Knippel.
Was that a great? I mean, we started off the show talking about Dickie's love lady.
Yeah.
Is Con Knippel? I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Con Knippel is interesting.
A little too much nipple.
You think? Yeah. But that being said, I want him too.
By the way, if you're just tuning in, Dickie Lovelady is now a reliever for the Mets. Who's leaning in?
Richard.
Yeah, Rich. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We've got bold predictions for you on the draft tonight. We also have football, lots of it, including some news out of Cleveland. It's the Maggie Perloff Show.
How many inches you have?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. We're doing Pittsburgh musicians today because it is the Pittsburgh Mount Olympus for sports gods. Every major sports city. This is a big one today. This is a really, really hard one. And come to think of it,
What?
I didn't send you my Pittsburgh sports gods yet.
Wait a minute, Pearl. We got to do this the night before. So we send both of ours to EJ separately so that we don't infiltrate each other's brains. And it was funny because I sent mine yesterday around 4 or something like that. And I never heard from EJ. And I'm like, this is crazy that we have no overlaps. Like, that's nuts. Pearl must have really went off the reservation here with these Pittsburgh sports gods.
I am deep into YouTube scouting for the NBA draft. Deep into, 2.5 minutes on all the top 10 picks, Maggie. That's 29 minutes.
Okay, well, then you better be a Trey Johnson expert by the end of this.
Oh, my God. I could tell you more about Trey Johnson. No, I can't tell you anything about him. By the way, no.
All that for nothing.
He's a good shoot. Again, VJ Edgecombe, 43% shooter, and you guys tell me I do not like where the Sixers are headed.
Well, we've been saying that for years.
Yeah, I've been trying to resist.
So the Sixers are what? Going to get back to the second round? Like, what are we doing here? You got way bigger things. You've got a Joel Embiid problem. You got a playoff P problem. You got to figure out what's going on with Maxey. Is Nick Nurse the right coach? I don't even like talking about the Sixers.
Well, none of that.
And I now end up going 4 deep into the
Who cares
problems.
about any of that? None of that. That's all that's called a sunk cost. And sunk is the right word.
I'm just saying you'll ruin anybody.
You have a
That's
number 3
the
pick and a
issue.
great draft. You got to take Ace Bailey.
Let's go to JT in Atlanta who wants to talk about Cooper Flagg, who that's a no drama there. He's going to be going to the Mavericks. And JT, you expect big things.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that for me, it was all I needed to see when they had the NBA select team. And as a 17-year-old, he looked like one of the best players on the court with the Olympians, right? Yep. And they all said it themselves. They were like, listen, this guy is dominated. And his shot wasn't even, his three-point shot has gotten better. If he gets that outside game going, I mean, he didn't lead Duke to a championship a la like, Carmelo or something like that. But he was always the best player in college on the court, no matter who he played against. And I just think that would translate his game. Like Perloff is saying, how's he going to play, or how's his game going to translate, or what kind of player will he be? I think Scottie Pippen is a great comp to me. I think he's got that kind of fluid, big man shooter, can do it all type of ranginess that I think. I don't know. I think he's a star, and I just can't wait to see him.
JT, Scottie Pippen's one of the most explosive players in NBA history. I think that's tough for me to see. I mean, that's
I think
high
you're going to be surprised.
That's a very high bar.
Yeah, but I think you're going to be surprised at some of the explosiveness that he brings as well. I think his athleticism is underrated because I think, dare I say, he's white. But if he wasn't, I think we wouldn't be talking about him like that. I think that's just kind of the knock on him. That, he's not as athletic as maybe a Scottie Pippen could be or was,
So
but I think he is.
I could buy, like, my friend keeps saying he's Aaron Gordon. I'm like, okay, Scottie Pippen's all time. We're talking about one of the 10, where is he in the all-time player list? That's a high bar for Cooper Flagg. Well, I'll take Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, yes, I can do that. Scottie Pippen, I can't
Aaron
do.
Gordon? Aaron Gordon is like 10 times more athletic than Scottie Pippen, though, right?
Well, I
Also,
just say,
and Kawhi was an MVP.
but the way Scottie Pippen moved up and down the court, like that ain't happening. I mean, he was spectacular.
Okay, but who's going to be higher on the all-time?
Yeah.
And JT, thank you for the call. You've given us something to chew on here. Who do you think is higher on the all-time list? Is it going to be Scottie or Kawhi? Like Kawhi.
Scottie.
Ooh, that's a good question.
No, and I love Scottie. This is not a downgrading Scottie. But
I would think.
as far as all-time,
yes, Scottie.
Kawhi won a title, though, without
2 Finals MVPs.
Well, that and didn't have Michael Jordan. I mean,
Right.
he took the Toronto Raptors to a title in 1 year. I think that he probably gets the nod there.
Really? Scottie Pippen is Scottie Pippen.
I love Scottie. I put Kawhi ahead of him. They're probably in the same class, though. They're in the same they're in the same
right.
range of all-time players.
But I guess what I'm saying is to compare Cooper Flagg to Kawhi easily, but then have hesitations about Scottie Pippen.
Well,
I
just-
think you're wading in the same
No,
water.
he'll
there.
be because he'll be a much better shooter than Scottie Pippen. Took forever to get a shot going in the NBA. He'll be a better shooter than Scottie, but to do the thing, Scottie's one of the greatest defenders to ever step on the court. Cooper's going to be a good shot blocker, but Scottie was unbelievable. Maybe this is, you grow up with these guys like Scottie Pippen's just on a god. So yeah, I just can't see that, and he's getting a lot of those comps. Can I just read you a couple other ones? Andre Kirilenko cracked me up. That is who's also a very athletic player.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
he was a great slasher. Karolinko was excellent.
Yeah,
He had everything, actually.
Yeah, he just wasn't a great shooter. That was the one thing he was.
Yeah, I think Flagg's a better shooter. Jason Tatum is a big one.
Yeah, I see the Tatum
that
one all
one,
the time.
That one I don't see.
Well, I guess
Duke.
it's because Tatum,
Right,
that,
I mean,
but
that's
also
all I see.
So Tatum, I was reading a little bit about this last night about the Tatum comp and about how they get their points in different ways because Tatum takes like 9 threes a game, but when he came into the NBA, Tatum was only taking like 3 or 4 threes a game, so he could turn into a Tatum.
But Tatum's like a one-on-one creator. I don't see and like a mid-range shooter.
Yeah,
like
but Tatum wasn't-
Flagg isn't. That's why he wasn't Duke.
But Tatum wasn't you can't be a one-on-one creator at Duke because he forces you to move the ball a lot. He didn't it wasn't all one-on-one
They
play.
were comparing Tatum to like Carmelo Anthony coming out of that's not. I don't see like the Tatum Duke. I don't see Flagg.
I think there's
he's also a
some
better
similarities.
athlete than Tatum. Much better athlete.
I see some similarities. Just one thing.
He doesn't
I don't
handle
know.
like Tatum either. Tatum's a much better ball handler.
Also, Tatum likes to go right a lot. Cooper Flagg only knows how to go right. I see some similarity. He's tall. He jumps over the guy covering him. I don't know. Maybe I'm underthinking it, but I do see a lot of Tatum. But they seem to be wired similarly too.
JT said, he knows that Cooper Flagg didn't lead Duke to a title. Got pretty damn close. I mean, national semifinal, got to the Final Four and lost to Houston by 3 points. So, okay, EJ's going to have a bold draft prediction for us in just a moment, but we're going to first get to Bogish with his headlines. What's up?
Guys, they could still make more moves this summer or during the season, but already some heavy lifting from Celtics GM Brad Stevens. The day after unloading Jrue Holiday's contract on Portland, Stevens sent our good friend
Kristaps Porzingis
to the Hawks in a 3-way deal with the Nets. Boston taking back George Niang in a second rounder, but what matters is getting Porzingis' money off their spreadsheet. The Celtics now under the second luxury tax apron, saving them roughly $200 million. We're told that Kyrie Irving is declining his $43 million option for next season, so he can sign a fresh 3-year deal with the Mavs. It's worth $119 million with a player option for the 27-28 campaign now. And NBA owners have unanimously approved the $1.5 billion sale of the T-Wolves and the Lynx to A-Rod and Mark Lowry. The actual sale should close this week, 51 short months after the initial agreement with Glenn Taylor.
I thought this happened 3 years ago.
Nope.
By the way, the Aaron Rodgers interview with Pat McAfee yesterday getting a lot of attention, Pearl, obviously, because he said this could be his last year and that he's going to Kaiser Sose after he retires. He's just going to, fade into the background or whatever. One small thing that's not getting a lot of attention, Alex Rodriguez caught a major stray in that interview. Did anyone else listen to the whole thing? So they're talking about Rodgers being this great golfer. Apparently he can not golf for like 6 or 8 months, pick up the sticks, and just go out and shoot a 71 or whatever. Because he's a great athlete, and great athletes are just better than us at everything. And he goes, McAfee's making a big deal about how you can't just go to this Tahoe thing and just fart around. You got to be really good. Steph Curry, Tony Romo, some of the best athlete golfers we have. And he goes, yeah, and A-Rod had a pretty bad outing one time, and they just out of nowhere just blow up Alex Rodriguez, showed up and apparently played terribly.
Yeah, no, Rodgers is obsessed with that tournament. He talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
Apparently he does a 4-week lead up. He doesn't just walk. He always talks about training for that tournament, which is weird.
No, he's clowning Josh Allen because apparently Josh Allen wants to beat him so badly that Allen is bringing his own swing coach to the tournament.
Wow.
My buddy Case Keenum came in third once. Right behind, it's always like Jack Wagner and John Smoltz. It's
Romo.
Yeah.
Romo
But
and Curry.
Smoltz has won that a ton, too. He's
sure.
amazing.
Rick Rhoden used to win it a lot, too.
No, it was Rick Russell. Or was it
No,
Rick
I think
Rhoden?
it was Rick Rhoden.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both Pirates pitchers, by the way.
Yeah.
Mount Olympus of...
Right
remember
on
Jack
cue.
Wagner, the soap opera actor?
Yeah, he was in Austin Powers, wasn't he?
He was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
eye patch over it.
Dude could golf.
I know these guys are super competitive, so they never want to be bad at anything. But I think these guys have gotten the whole celebrity golf thing all wrong. You want to be Charles Barkley. You want to be terrible.
No,
'Cause I don't remember. No, I don't remember what John Smoltz does on a golf course. Like who gives a crap about that? I remember John Smoltz closing games for the Braves, but I will always remember Charles Barkley's golf swing.
With that hitch.
Forever. Everyone knows he's.
You think that's a positive thing?
Yeah, because that's more branding. You know how much money he's probably made as a person for charity appearances or things like that. Like that's way more beneficial than being great at golf when you're a baseball player.
You know, but he also, it looks painful to watch Charles Barkley play golf. Like that can't be fun for him. His hobby just gets totally taken away because he got this weird yips.
No, he can play whenever he wants. It's not that like I think it's fine for him. And I think to me it's one of those things where you already were great at another sport. So we're never gonna get that excited about you being great at something. Like Steph Curry's great at golf. Yeah. Nobody's a Steph Curry fan cares about that. We're still gonna argue about that he's the greatest point guard and he beat LeBron James. Like we're not gonna put on his GOAT resume, hey, great golfer. But with Charles Barkley, that is an infamous part of his whole persona, is that he's this horrendous golf player.
I know, but for the better, for the worse. Can I tell you this is an unintended thing that it can be like a blow to an ego sometimes for an athlete playing in these celebrity golf tournaments, because I was once lucky enough to interview the immortal Jan Stenerud. Anyone?
Sure.
Kicker for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Created the modern tee that they like tee up the ball with.
Hence his immortality.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
He was telling me a story off camera about the sadness that came over him when he was no longer invited to this Tahoe golf tournament, and how it was like a very humbling. Jan Stenerud, good-looking dude, you know, like had it all in the 80s, 70s and 80s, right? And then there was like the humbling of not being invited anymore.
My favorite is when young athletes are learning golf and showing us on Instagram. That's a new thing. Who's the guy? Somebody big picked it up this year.
Well, Sauce Gardner did it last year. He was
there's another one this year when like a 22-year-old athlete picks up golf and they're learning on the fly and they're like amazing after their third time.
Isn't that always the case?
But I told like that Charles, you'd rather be Charles, but that might be EJ's worst take of all time.
It's pretty bad.
Why? Because
can't even
those
swing the club?
Steph Curry's obsessed with golf. Those guys are.
Right,
I want to see one of them try on the tour.
But Charles Barkley's actually he's been able to monetize that being part of his persona. I don't think anything's happened for any of those other guys.
Steph Curry had a golf
good.
TV show.
Golf TV
that
show.
Fancy,
that
golf show.
Yeah,
mini golf show.
Yeah, I remember that. How long did that last?
More than one season.
Charles Barkley clips are infinite. He's always going to be on TV talking about how terrible he is at golf.
Actually, they can buy Under Armour Steph Curry golf stuff, too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you retire and get a bunch of DWIs, you'll get a lot of publicity. What are you talking about?
DWI and being bad at golf, definitely two of the same things.
Nah, they're adjacent.
Like this is not, that's not
One probably
good.
leads to the other.
But
So
you know,
bad at
the
golf.
athletes themselves, they care more about golf than their actual sport. To the T, every single one of them is all they care about is how good am I at golf. You ever talk to a hockey player about golf? It is an obsession of that sport.
I just also want to pause for a second on the number of failed Steph Curry television shows that we just don't talk about. He had one with his wife.
Go ahead.
There's a scripted series.
It's a sitcom. I watched too many episodes of that.
Is it still on?
I hope not. I'm not watching a little bit of it.
Now some golf thing, some golf vehicle. that I didn't know
Holy
about.
moly.
Yeah, that did pretty
Yes.
well. We used to promote that
Yes.
at Dan Patrick Show. That's like 6 or 7 years ago, right?
Yeah, maybe a little less than that.
How'd it
but
do?
I think it was less.
I mean, this is a lot of projects he's got going on the side.
That's nothing compared to LeBron. I mean, Jesus.
Well, okay, but we realized that, LeBron moved to LA to kind of get this whole thing going. Steph Curry weirdly does this on the sly almost. Anyway.
Well, he's in the sitcom though, so I mean, it's not that sly.
Yeah, which is hilarious. So we have
He's
one of the
good, too.
great shooters and athletes of our generation is literally starring on a television show, and barely anyone knows about it.
It's a streamer.
Yeah, but also, it's not even that. I just think there's too much stuff out there. To crack through today is impossible, which is what these pro leagues are dealing with outside the NFL. There's too much stuff to watch.
But if Michael Jordan was doing like a guest appearance on Mr. Belvedere, it'd be like the biggest thing from our childhood. This is Steph Curry's actually on a sitcom and nobody's watching it.
Right, but in your childhood, you have what 50 channels. Like it's a totally different situation.
I know, but he's a one-of-one athlete, right? Doesn't that if you can't break through on that, maybe I'm wrong.
Tiger Woods could do something like I don't know. He was doing a sitcom tomorrow. I don't think it would matter.
That would be
it's
awful.
so. I just think that it's so hard to crack through now.
Yeah, it's
I
random.
know it's a little weird,
Yeah.
but like I saw the wrestler Mick Foley. He's most famous for being thrown off the steel cage.
Yeah,
fighting his wrestle match with the Undertaker. He said if this happened in the social media era, this would have been like done like 5 days later. Like no way we'd be talking about it anymore. He said because it wasn't in the social media era,
it lives forever.
It helped him so much, and I think that's a very good point.
I would
think
also
a lot
think
of these things.
Going to Peacock and not Netflix, that's going to hurt you. I mean, let's be honest. Sorry if they're a potential sponsor, but there's a major difference between going to Peacock and going to Netflix.
That I agree with.
Dump that part.
We've lost Amtrak and NBC in a matter of 2 days.
I know. Guys, what are you doing? We need more promoting of possible sponsors.
Hey, I watch wrestling on Peacock all the time. You guys are great at that.
Oh, they're good at
They
wrestling.
try.
Yeah,
They
that's why I have it.
Sunday Night Football, big fan.
Yeah, I love that Poker Face show. Yeah.
Yep.
Good pull. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
SNL still on?
EJ is going to have his bold draft prediction for tonight.
Nice.
We're going to do that. Something for the Pistons, maybe?
We're going to watch Poker Face Season 2 starts this week, by the way, Bogues.
Let's
I know
go!
you're aware of that.
That's why there's ads
Poker Face,
everywhere.
Natasha Lyonne. It's a great show. I will give you that.
All right. Well, Peacock's back in. 888-710-4ISN. More draft coverage next.
He is like really the straw that makes the drink go.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
He's got the road trip blues. Glorious ride. He's on the chat, tuning in. Where it's at. Infinity Sports Radio, playing all morning. Dancing to the beat, feeling so right. The tapes are loud, his speakers blast. He's a Twitch viewer, having a blast. The ball is spinning, the crowd's going wild. Glorious ride.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hav, O-H to the O-V. I used to move snowflakes by the O-Z. I guess even back then you can call me CEO of the ROC. Hovey, fresh out the frying pan into the fire. I be the music biz #1 supplier flyer than a piece of paper bearing my name. Got the hottest chick in the game. Wearing my chain, that's right. Hov, not Doc. But similar to them letters, no one can do it better. I check cheddar like a food inspector. My homie Strick told me, dude, finish your breakfast. So
Andrew Bogusch had a plan on a sunny afternoon. Grabbed a bat and and took the field under the summer moon. He said, Jack, let's show 'em how the Bogush boys can play. But little did they know he had whiskey in his sway.
Oh, Andrew Bogush, swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat.
Jack's team was laughing as Dad took his stance, wobbling at the plate in a tipsy baseball dance. The coach was shaking his head, moms were all aghast, but Andrew Bogush grinned, living in the past.
Oh, Andrew Bogush, swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat. He hit a grounder to the shortstop, tried to make it to first, but he tripped over his own feet. Oh man, it was the worst. Jack was on the mound, his face turning red.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Honoring Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania today, the Mount Olympus of Maggie Perloff puts the spotlight on Pittsburgh. Top of the hour, the 4 sports gods from that city.
This is so tough. There are certain cities where it's almost impossible to narrow it down to 4.
Yep.
There's too many sports gods.
This is an amazing one, though, because I did my 4, and again, we're going to do that top of the hour, and you and I, we don't want to overlap on all of them, right? Because we don't want to just have the same list. And I offered today, if we overlap, I'll change mine, because I actually have 3 others in my mind that I'm perfectly happy putting on my Mount
I have
Olympus.
1 extra. I put 1 alternate.
We're going to stay with the ones you guys have.
We did not overlap that much?
You guys did not pick the same 4. You did not pick the same 4.
Okay, because I have another one that I was like, really want to put on.
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, no. I think
chill on that for a
Paul
sec.
Skeens?
Jalen Warren?
Thought about Skeens. I think he's up there. But no, there's another Pittsburgh Pirate that makes my list. But that's all I'm saying.
It could have been Barry Bonds.
He didn't make my
or
list
Bobby
either.
Bonilla. Well, I hope not.
888-710-4ISN.
I'm an Andy Van Slyke guy.
You can't leave and then make the list.
Why? LeBron's on our Cleveland list, but he did come back.
He came back. If LeBron didn't come back to Cleveland, he would not have been on that. Well, maybe he would have.
I think he still would have. 888-710-4ISN. All right, the NBA draft is tonight, so we're asking a question to you. Do you think Cooper Flagg is going to live up to the hype? I mean, he's been the most hyped prospect out of Maine, kind of unconventional story. Goes to Duke. They go to the Final Four. Now he's going to be the number 1 pick going to the Dallas Mavericks. That's going to happen tonight. Will he actually be an MVP or a 1A on a championship team at some point? 888-710-4ISN. Meanwhile, EJ, with a bold prediction for tonight, what do you got from the man who's grinding the most tape on these draft picks of anyone on the show?
Okay, so I love the NBA draft, my favorite time of the year in many ways. A lot of times because the Knicks being terrible, I had to study these players left and right. It's a little different time now.
It's like the Cleveland Browns fans loving the draft. It's like all you got.
This is all we got. This is all the hope, right? So this is definitely my wheelhouse here. I'm going to give, they're kind of adjacent. So there's two, but they're kind of in the same build. So the first one is I'm always looking for the stars, right? And that's what Pearl's been asking. Who are the stars? Who are the stars? So I think we all know Cooper, of course. I think Harper, of course. I agree with Perloff that Bailey's the third. There's a fourth one. There's a fourth one in the top 10. It's a guy we actually mentioned earlier in the show is Trey Johnson from Texas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trey Johnson, you want to talk about a guy who's a good shooter, 40% on catch and shoot threes, around a 40% three-point shooter, probably the second best shot creator in the draft besides Ace Bailey. So if you're looking for a guy who may not go top 5, who you say could be a star, I think you look at the freshman from Texas.
Okay, multiple-time All-Star.
Yes.
That's your prediction.
At least one. I'm not going to say multiple. I say at least one.
Okay.
I think he's a real, because the NBA draft is hard to find really good players. It's been tough. There's a lot of minds out there. So I'll go with Trey Johnson as the guy.
If you're sitting at, say, 4, would you take Trey Johnson over Con Knippel?
Yes.
Okay.
Without doubt, without question. And that brings me to the other one, which is I think is the bigger one for me. I always want to think, what's the team we're going to be talking about leaving this draft?
Right.
Besides, because no one's really going to talk about, who Dallas? We're going to talk about Dallas, but all right, we all know Flagg's going there.
Yeah, who's going to be the surprise team? Who's going to be the headline?
Right. It pains me to say this, but is Brooklyn in the house?
Oh, wow. Well, they have 5 first-round picks.
They're in the house because it's there, but no.
The Brooklyn Nets
It's literally their house that the draft's happening.
They have 5 first-round picks. They cannot put 5 first-round rookies all in the same team.
That'd be amazing.
Something is going to happen with the Brooklyn Nets tonight that is going to have us talking tomorrow. Either they're going to make a big trade for a veteran, or they're going to move up really big in this draft to potentially take a Trey Johnson, or like Jerry said earlier, they may be the person that leaves with Ace Bailey. And we're going to say, wow, Ace Bailey played this long game that we didn't know what kind of checkers or chess he was playing.
Right.
It was to get himself to Brooklyn so he could be Brooklyn's new star. So I think the team we're talking about here is potentially the Brooklyn Nets leaving with either Ace Bailey or Trey Johnson, and maybe a veteran as well with all these first-round picks.
Okay, so not bad. They've got all the first-round picks. If it was going to be a veteran who they're going to trade for, who do you think is actually a likely person? Is Giannis heading there? I don't think that's going to happen.
I would look at Lowry Marketing.
Okay.
Oh, man.
From Utah.
Yeah.
Bring the sizzle.
Well, look, I mean, if you pair Lowry Marketing with an Ace Bailey, I think you're cooking with something big there, potentially.
I mean, I think you're actually in contest. Who is the most irrelevant franchise in pro sports with the Wizards, the Nets or the Wizards? I mean, you could have a 1-2
Well, that might
conversation.
change tonight.
It won't.
Well, I'm just saying, depending on what happens, both these franchises could draft, cornerstones.
I think Washington Wizards could get prime LeBron and nobody would care about the Washington Wizards. I'm telling you, it has always been that way and it will always be that way. Am I wrong? Show me one moment where America was excited about the Washington basketball team.
Well, I was going to say, I'll give you a time when they cared, and that's when Gilbert Arenas bought a gun into the locker room.
Yes,
and then we
right.
were very much interested in what the hell was going on with that place.
I think the Nets are in a Wizards kind of sinkhole where even if they get these good players, they'll sort of disappear. I worry about that.
Yeah, but I just think, again, for the night, I'm not saying, for the next season we're going to be talking about the Brooklyn Nets, but I think tonight there's going to be a lot of attention on the teams that could make a big move. And we always want to see trades during draft night, right? That's what we're waiting for. Lowry Mark's a guy threw out there, but it doesn't mean there won't be bigger fish they're going to go after. Jaylen Brown's been someone that's been talked about. It's someone may be available.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown, I think, would be the big one. Now, he's not going to get traded to Brooklyn. I doubt that they would do that. They've done trades together before, and they've worked out horribly for Brooklyn.
The Celtics offered Jaylen Brown to them at one point in time, and the Nets said no.
Yeah, and I think at some point maybe KD was in a trade rumor when he was in Brooklyn, but I don't see them making a trade. I think the Jaylen Brown getting moved tonight that's going to be the headline.
Yeah, but it does seem like they're backing off that a little bit. I did see now it seems like they want to keep Jaylen Brown. Is that the latest?
Well, there's no one else. I mean, you got no Tatum for next year.
Yeah.
You just traded away Jrue Holiday, who, by the way, is not happy, apparently, with getting traded to Portland, which I understand. And then you now just trade away Porzingis.
Yeah.
We don't think Al Horford's going to be back. So step up Peyton Pritchard.
I, too, have a bold prediction. Cooper Flagg, he's going number 1.
Oh, look at you, Manny.
Oh, yeah, going out on a limb here.
That's how you go out on a limb.
I mean, that's how you make a name for yourself in this business. Takes like that.
Another draft fave. Another draft fave for EJ. I love Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma.
Yeah, that guy's, he got a good YouTube reel.
He's good.
Can he play?
Yes, he can.
Who knows?
He's 18.
We'll find out in a couple months.
Yeah, in the era of YouTube, how could you even tell? The Mount Olympus, the 4 sports gods of Pittsburgh next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Aaron Rodgers making headlines again. He's been the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback for just a couple weeks, Pearl, but now saying this is likely it, the final season for Rodgers. So now we get sort of a last dance vibe to see if Rodgers can go out on top. Do you think he can?
On top of what?
The sports world.
No, I don't think. It's interesting. He set up the situation. He's an all-time quarterback going to a team that was in the playoffs. You'd think Super Bowl was the goal. But honestly, I don't think that's a realistic goal here. I think just a good season. The way he said on the Pat McAfee Show, I want to go out in a nice way. Kind of like, I think, on an uptick, which means playoffs. I think if he got to the second round of playoffs, like Joe Montana in his last year with Kansas City, that was a positive experience. I think they got to the AFC title game, but they didn't win a Super Bowl. I know I'm big into ring culture.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the ring is the definition of success here.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think that for the career that Rodgers has had, even if he's older, even if you had the Achilles injury and add all that in there, the Jets was this weird side departure where he thought he was going to be able to overturn, decades of futility with the New York Jets, right? He was going to be able to come in and, rub some kind of special sauce on this team and turn them into a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers or like the Green Bay Packers and ignore the fact that they have a bad owner and find dysfunction everywhere they can. He's now actually going to one of those storied franchises, one of those good teams. And granted, the Steelers haven't been exactly the Steelers over the last few years, but what's the biggest reason why? Because they haven't had a quarterback. And if Rodgers can really find some of that magic where he appears to be all in, he's saying that he wants to sort of leave everything out on the field. You do have a great defense among all this stuff, and I know they got run all over in that in the playoffs by the Ravens, but they've addressed the defense. That's what they did in the draft. Now you're going to need some of those young guys to step up. I get it, but you have the pedigree, you have the coach. You've got all the makings here of what could be like this. It's not Michael Jordan's last dance. I get that. It's not the 6th championship, and it's not all the pressure building. That was a different kind of thing. But for Rodgers, like, I'm starting to, I'm not a big Rodgers believer, but I'm starting to buy in a little that one season, an all-in, push your chips to the middle of the table season. I mean, why not the Steelers?
I saw a tweet from Warren Sharp, who's a great football analyst, an analytic guy, who, when they signed Rodgers, said there's not a 10-7 season that Mike Tomlin has met that he doesn't fall in love with.
Well, but that's fine. You just get to the playoffs, and that's where the issue has been, right? Can you win a game in the playoffs with Rodgers? That's more of a likelihood, no?
No. Why? I mean, they're 15th in Super Bowl odds, and their win total is 8.5. Nobody is expecting this team to go to the Super Bowl. I think it's a very comfortable position for Rodgers. It'd be a gigantic shock if they made it to the Super Bowl. So I think he's fine. Just to be good would be very satisfying. And the one thing, if he is good, I don't think it's going to be a no-brainer that he's done. Say he plays pretty well and they win 11 games and they go out in the second round. He might say, hey, I still got some zip left in this arm. Why not one more year? So that's another side factor because Favre did it that way. Brady did it that way. Brady wanted to retire. He went out for one more year. So anyway, I don't see Super Bowl or bust, not at all.
Let's hear from Aaron Rodgers. Talking to Pat McAfee yesterday, says he does not feel like he has anything to prove.
I didn't need this. I didn't need it at all. I don't feel the need to prove anything to anybody or don't have any chip on my shoulder that I need to hold on to. I don't want the attention. I know that's a narrative out there.
Yeah, I think this is a comfortable thing for him to say in June. I think when you get around a team setting, he's been, doing this for 20 years. I think you have guys on the team who have a lot to prove, whether he feels like he doesn't or not. Other guys in the locker room are going to feel like they absolutely do. And I think he's going to get that juice back. And by the way, an Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder is the absolute best Aaron Rodgers you want, right? Because he has used that as fuel, like a lot of great athletes, to take his career to heights that even if we thought, he's one of the great quarterbacks, even heights, I didn't see those last 2 MVPs coming. And I think those were definitely chip on the shoulder MVPs. The Jordan Love draft pick, and then all the negativity he got from all the COVID
and
stuff.
how they do in the playoffs those years.
Well, I mean, not great, but the defense also wasn't very good, and that's a Rodgers thing.
They lost one game to 12-7.
It was negative degrees.
Yeah, and he's the Green Bay quarterback.
Listen,
and they lost to a California team.
Listen, there are way more egregious losses than that one, right? In my opinion, for Rodgers, if you want to point to stuff where, there were games where they absolutely, in my opinion, should have won and didn't. I don't know if that San Francisco one is one of those.
That was the worst one. They should, I mean, the weather screwed them. And I agree with that. But that was the team that was set up for real success, and they totally blew it because of an icy field. But then again, it's Green Bay.
Yeah, no, you should be able to play in the cold.
No excuse. I just think all that is true, but Pittsburgh, it feels like they're easing into the situation. They didn't sign him till June. I mean, how can you be like all in? The ultimate all-in year was Matthew Stafford going to the Rams. This is not all in. This is like, he happens to be available. That's more the vibe I'm getting.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Expectations for Rodgers in Pittsburgh if this just is a one-off. Another thing from Rodgers, we're going to get more into Pittsburgh in a minute because we're going to do our Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the 4 sports gods from Pittsburgh. But quickly, I do want to play another clip for you for Aaron Rodgers. It says after he's retired, that's it. He's out. He will be out of the public spotlight.
When this is all done, you won't. It's Kaiser Sose. You won't see me. I won't be in the public. I don't want to live a public life. That's why it's so strange what's going on right now with my private life, because I don't want to live. I don't want to live a life in the public eye. I'm not going to be in the public eye. When this is done, I'm done, and you won't see me. And I'm looking forward to that.
Says the man who just had a documentary come out about him, where he really took us inside some of the most private moments of his life. I can't imagine any other athlete who would literally take cameras with him on an ayahuasca trip in Costa Rica, where we watch him descending into the stuff and then coming out of it where he's talking about I'm a caterpillar who's turned into a butterfly. I mean, that was some pretty vulnerable moments that Aaron Rodgers put on camera, and that's not 10 years ago. That was literally months ago.
It's Kaiser Sose.
Is that months ago? What's
yeah,
that?
The ayahuasca. I mean, the documentary
came
out.
Year or last year?
It was this year that it came out.
Was it really? Oh my God, time moves fast.
Going through all of his Achilles rehab and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like he's hard to predict. He is an enigma. I wouldn't be shocked if he disappeared for a while. I don't know what that dude's going to do. When you say he's going to be, what's the most likely path to come back as a podcast host, as a TV analyst? What do you see?
Everything. I think this is the shades of a guy who went on a bender and says, I'm never drinking again, and it's just, you don't believe that person, right? It's like, give it a couple days. You're going to have something else that you're going to want to impart on the world, another message you're going to want to get out, or, just the football side. I think he likes talking about football, and I think he likes teaching people about football. I don't think he'll be a coach, but I think that he would absolutely, we'll see him again talking about future quarterbacks or whatever.
I think you're probably right. I think he might take a year or two away because I think he's furious at the media. I think he thinks that they portray him as a bad guy very, very consistent, like the large majority of the media. So I think he's got some stuff to deal with there.
Yeah.
I think he's angry.
Maybe. He certainly comes off as being bitter for sure about people, snooping into his private life when, he is a famous person. He has dated very famous women also. So this is a departure from that. And to kind of want to know, there's plenty of articles out right now if you want to look for this kind of thing about who Tom Brady is dating. I mean, it's just a fascination. With Josh Allen's wedding was on the cover of People magazine.
But here's the thing about it, the difference. Rodgers got into political areas because of the immunization thing.
Yep.
So, which is one of the major dividing lines in American politics. And he thinks that, he thinks people on the left hate him because of the immunization thing. He thinks that colors every ounce of coverage around. He's said it many times. He's like, that's when everything changed.
Right. And he also dipped his toe into potentially thinking about a political run, like the vice presidential. And that's himself.
Kind of around that very issue.
Right. And with a candidate at the time who's very, who's the head of Health and Human Services.
Yeah,
right?
but and let's be honest, one of RFK Jr.'s big things is he's skeptical about vaccines. So I think that's a big part. I've heard Rodgers talk about this. He thinks that really changed everything. So I think he's mad about that and might want to pull away from the mainstream media, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's a guy who just was on the Joe Rogan podcast, one of the biggest podcasts in the country,
right. But not
that long
mainstream
ago.
media, exactly. That's a whole. Then you're getting to the Joe Rogan world. It's quite complicated. There's a calculus around all of this.
Is Rogan not mainstream anymore? He's the biggest podcast. So
he's definitely mainstream.
Yeah, he's
the opposite.
To so many people.
Mainstream, I think people refer to NBC, ABC, CBS, and Rogan's the antidote to all that, right? That's the, there's a New York Times, and then there's the Joe Rogan world, right?
Sure, but when does the outsider actually become the main thing? Because your audience is so huge, you can't really claim to be like the rebels anymore. You're making more money than anyone who's working at the New York Times, probably by a gajillion.
Yeah, he's making $100 million.
Right, but
crazy.
But I think the way that it's used in our language, mainstream media, or lamestream, as Donald Trump calls it, is the legacy media. And he's literally 180 degrees opposite. He's the new media. So you might call it mainstream, but I still think people call the legacy media mainstream media. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but Joe Rogan, that's his thing, right? He's the pioneer of the anti-mainstream media. Maybe he has become mainstream. You're right.
I mean, I kind of think so. I think the same thing kind of happened with Barstool. Barstool Sports kind of came in like the side door, hey, we're going to be this sort of different type of thing. But now if you're one of the top media companies, you run yourself like a top media company in a lot of ways. You got gambling sponsorships, all the same things that we all have. When does the outside just become, now you are with us, aren't you? You are with the mainstream.
That's one way to view it. That's not exactly how I see it, but this is not a conversation for now because we got to get to the Pittsburgh Mount Olympus.
Let's do it. Hit it, Manny.
It's time to feast your ears on Maggie and Perloff's Mount Olympus.
Very fun today. Very fun to go back through the city of Pittsburgh. So many titles, so much winning, so many huge stars. To come up with just the four sports gods of Pittsburgh was not easy, but it was fun.
Oh, my God. This is Boston, Pittsburgh, Bay Area. Those are the three so far that have been hardest for me.
In New York.
New York, not as much because there was 20 to choose from. So you were just randomly grabbing. There are, this one, for some reason, those three, because, the guys we left off were killing. But leaving Ted Williams off in Boston.
Yeah, I know.
Leaving Barry Bonds off in San Francisco. You're going to leave a legend off today.
Do you want to start us off?
Okay, I'll go first. There's a couple that you can't leave off. You can't leave Roberto Clemente off. I was looking at his stats. Do you know he's a 15-time All-Star? Because he died too young, famously on a charity mission in a plane crash. But he still had 15 times All-Star, 2-time World Series champion. Obviously, it's just one of those iconic baseball names, Roberto Clemente. You can't really talk about, the story of baseball without talking about Roberto Clemente and defined by Pittsburgh.
No doubt. World Series MVP also. It's funny because he is more known, and maybe now for his tragic death, but then when you go back through his career, it's amazing.
He's in the sort of Willie Mays kind of conversation. My second one, Franco Harris, got a statue. To me, you have to have representation of the 70s Steelers. Immaculate Reception is probably still the most famous play in NFL history. I don't think that's a stretch to say that is the single biggest play. He picks the ball off the ground, might have hit the ground, and thank God there was an instant replay. Beats the Raiders. They didn't win the Super Bowl that year, but went on to win the Super Bowl. And he's just so iconic, not just as a player, but as a personality. And also, it's watch highlights of him. It's so cool the way he runs, sort of upright, 70s style. Huge fan. My third is Mario Lemieux. Obviously, there are a few now, famous Penguins that could have made this list. But Mario Lemieux, not just because, for me, it's because he was first of the great Penguins. Also, won at such a high level, beat cancer, came back, part of the front office. That was easy. Now, the fourth spot, tough. Very tough. Stayed up all night when I chose it this morning.
Yeah, I know it's been killing you.
I went in trouble in Pittsburgh. Air Steelers, I went with Mean Joe Green. So, listen, that was really hard because I'm going to leave some legends off here. But Mean Joe Green, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He was the other side of Franco Harris, the defensive side of the Steel Curtain, one of the most famous defenses of all time. Obviously, ushered in the modern commercial with the Coke commercial was amazing, where he gave a, hey kid, here's a Coke. And the dude's nickname was Mean. I mean, if you have a defensive player, that's what you want to be. So Joe Green to me was my 4th spot. Who do you got, Meg?
All right, 4 sports gods of Philadelphia. We do have some overlap because you're right. There was no list in the world where I'm leaving off Roberto Clemente. It's not happening. I'm not trying to anger anybody in the city of Pittsburgh today, and they would just be wrong not to have him on a Mount Olympus as a sports god for that organization, for that city. So Roberto Clemente is a no-brainer. I also have Franco Harris, and the Immaculate Reception, literally the statue at the airport. I mean, you want to welcome people into your city. You could have picked 100 different people. You could have picked me, Joe Green. You could have picked Terry Bradshaw. You could have picked anybody. It's the Franco Harris scooping the ball off the turf or top of the grass or whatever, and the fact that it came off the helmet of Jack Tatum. I mean, everything about that is so iconic, and may he rest in peace, Franco Harris. And that was sad to lose him not that long ago. Okay, this is where you and I are going to differ now.
Oh, wow.
I went with Sidney Crosby, and I love Lemieux, but I think what Sidney Crosby also means by continuing that incredible foundation that Mario Lemieux did set, and being as hyped and then paying it off in the way that he did, despite all the concussions, all of that, to be the 3-time champion. Sidney Crosby's made good on everything that he promised to be in Pittsburgh. He deserves to be a sports god in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then my 4th, you're right, you got to go Steelers. Got to go back to the number 1 sport in that city. But I went with Troy Polamalu. So I went on the defensive side like you did. But I went to a different era and different generation with Polamalu as the 2-time Super Bowl champion and the quiet, just no doubt toughest guy. And, he wasn't flashy. The hair was flashy, but he wasn't flashy. And just embodied everything about Pittsburgh, which is funny because he's not even from anywhere close to Pittsburgh. He couldn't be more California. But this is the toughness of the Steelers that, again, continues that legacy. Troy Polamalu is the poster child for that and got into the Hall of Fame in 2020.
Yeah, obviously a great one. I like that you went 2 eras of Steelers football. Again, but it's tough. Mean Joe Green is also iconic. We do photos on social media. Cap can just put the picture of Steve Yzerman, whereas you put Sidney Crosby. You're doing it again.
What do you mean?
You pick Steve Yzerman over Gordie Howe, and you're picking Sidney Crosby over Mario Lemieux. You don't take the second guy. You take the first guy.
Listen, we're talking about sports gods. You're telling me that Sidney Crosby is not a sports god in Pittsburgh?
You sat here and argued in a chair that Steve Yzerman's a sports god in Detroit, but you don't put him on the Mount Olympus over Gordie Howe. You don't put Mario Lemieux as Mario Lemieux.
And Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, he was second.
It doesn't matter if he's second because when all is said and done, you're going to have a conversation about who was the better player and all of that.
Yeah, it's going to be Mario Lemieux.
Well, we're going to talk about it.
I just think that's where I think I might have you here. Now, you might have me with Troy Polamalu over Joe Green just because nobody remembers Joe Green.
But you mentioned the Coca-Cola commercial, but Troy Polamalu's got the hair. So you want to talk about iconic
the hair is going to look good on there.
Head and Shoulders commercials and such?
I see what you're saying, but I just don't think, I think that gives me a slight advantage. You might get a slight advantage with Troy over Joe Green, which is a shame. Because the funny thing is Terry Bradshaw, too, as far as so iconic. I know they don't love him in Pittsburgh, so that's why I left him out. Is that why you did that?
Yep, same. And I just think that when you're talking about sports gods, it's different than the Mount Rushmore conversations because god-like figures are... to be a different calculus, right? Because I do think you have to be beloved. I do think there's a fan favorite element to it. And I think Terry Bradshaw is a fan favorite nationally and everyone loves him, but you're right. His relationship with Pittsburgh is obviously strained.
Well, that being said, there would have been no problem for me putting him on there. And there's by one athlete who I think is talking about beloved. Willie Stargell is really beloved. I know that he is an iconic Pittsburgh Steeler. So that one, as far as people love Pops, I mean, he was huge.
So that was not the guy who I really wrestled with. The one who I really wrestled with, because I think that they are without a doubt, your mom's favorite player, your next door neighbor's favorite player. It's Jerome Bettis. I think the bus in Pittsburgh is as godlike as it comes. Talking about walking into restaurants, he's so genial. He'll take photos with everybody. Not that Troy Polamalu and Franco Harris weren't that, but I just think that
you put Bettis over. I would put stars all over him.
Bettis is such a huge deal. The Super Bowl, winning it for him, basically.
Willie Stargell spent 21 years in Pittsburgh. I don't know. I feel like he's part of the just lifeblood of that city. Bettis is huge too. Nothing wrong with Bettis. Also, you could put him on your Detroit Mount Rushmore famously. Has anyone ever said like that Super Bowl? Oh, Jerome Bettis is going back to Detroit.
All right, so let's recap it for you. I went with 4 sports gods of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Roberto Clemente. I went with Franco Harris. I went with Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby, and they gave me a little Troy Polamalu.
So I went with Franco and Roberto Clemente as well, but then I went with Joe Green and Mario Lemieux. Now, I'll be honest, I almost put Sidney in as my 4th. So there's nothing wrong with him as a sports god. You just can't leave Mario Lemieux out of your sports god. That's my issue.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let's get it going. Fans of the Steel City, what do we get right? What do we get wrong with our sports gods?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Mount Olympus, a Pittsburgh sports god. Such a great one. This has to be one of my favorite sports towns, Maggie.
Yeah.
It's just such a lifeblood of the city. And as a huge NFL films fan, the Steelers are so iconic. The black helmets, everything about them is cool. The old Pirates were super cool. New Pirates, not so much. And obviously, you got these amazing stars for the Penguins. You know, The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh is an old basketball movie that Dr. J was into.
Yeah.
I thought about putting him in there. No basketball team, but they don't even need one. And the Pitt Panthers have had a bunch of amazing players, too. Tony Dorsett.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Kenny Pickett.
Steven Adams.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny.
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino. The Pitt Panthers did not make it on this list. And then if you want to go to people who are from Pittsburgh, which we're doing professional athletes and college athletes who played their professional and college careers in these cities. But if you want to go to people who competed in individual sports who are from Pittsburgh, well, let's go to Mike in Syracuse to lead us off here on the calls. Mike, who did we miss on our Mount Olympus of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Well, I don't want to say that you missed them because I don't want Andrew to get all upset again. But,
fair.
You're talking gods just an hour east of Pittsburgh is a sleepy little town known for Rolling Rock, but it's Latrobe, Pennsylvania, the home of Arnold Palmer.
Yeah.
When you're talking gods of golf, Arnold Palmer brought so many people into golf. You know, my father, who I lost him a few years ago in his 80s, his idol when it came to hacking and slicing around a golf course was Arnold Palmer.
Yeah. No, Palmer, amazing. And we've put golfers on some of our other Mount Olympus. And Mike, thank you for that. I put Phil Mickelson on my San Diego one because he's from there.
Right.
But, you know, I just realized we didn't reset our Mount Olympus. Why don't you quickly go? And
Franco Harris, Roberto Clemente, Mario Lemieux, and Joe Green.
And I went with Franco Harris and Roberto Clemente also, but I went with Sidney Crosby and I went with Troy Polamalu.
By the way, that was really helpful, Mike, from Syracuse, because I didn't really know that Arnold Palmer was a great golfer. I forgot about that. No, I'm just saying, Mike, like, we know who Arnold Palmer is. You don't have to sell him.
Right, but, you know, the personal connection.
Never heard of him.
There. Okay, Chris is in Vancouver. Chris, I knew, was I going to make you mad today when I put Sidney Crosby over Mario Lemieux?
Yeah, you made me mad. You both made me mad, actually. Well, because Sidney Crosby, you can't have a Mount Olympus in Pittsburgh without Sidney Crosby. So, Perloff, I'm mad at you.
I considered him.
Yeah, he's played 20 seasons and counting. At the end of his career, he's going to be one of the greatest. I'm going to put him in top 5 greatest to ever play the sport of hockey. He's the youngest. The youngest player captain to ever win a Stanley Cup. He was like 21 years old. But anyways, Mario Lemieux, shame on you, Maggie, for not having him on your list. He is, okay, this is going to be controversial, but I think he's better than Wayne Gretzky. He, unfortunately, his career, he had a bunch of injuries. He had Hodgkin's lymphoma, so he had to take a few years off. He'd even play 1,000 games, and he's top 10 in the NHL all time, leading scorers. And then, so that makes room for, I would get rid of Franco Harris on my list, just because Sidney Crosby, like I said, end of his career, he's going to be top 5 all time. Yeah. Franco Harris isn't even top 10 in his sport.
Wait, Chris.
And, yeah.
So is there a city where you would not try to insert an NHL player? It doesn't even seem to matter if they have an NHL team. Chris from Vancouver calling in to say Pittsburgh needs more hockey players. Like, would you put Gretzky in Indianapolis because he played minor league there? Is there a city we can find where you would not put an NHL player?
Hey, bring it on. I like the challenge.
But Chris, you don't have to defend yourself here. In this case, you're right. Of all the cities to make the case for, this is definitely one of them, to have 2 gods from the sport of hocky.
I don't know. It just seems like a trend, Chris.
Yeah, it's you caught me. But,
I love it. Keep it coming.
But I do want to say, with your guys' Roberto Clemente, I did a quick Google, and a lot of sports writers in Pittsburgh don't have him as the number 1 Pittsburgh Pirate of all time. I did notice Honus Wagner was the top Pittsburgh Pirate of all time. I can't comment on that because I was born 80 years later, but
Chris, none of us can comment on Honus Wagner. Yeah. It's fair.
None of us ever met a human being named Honus.
You're not less of a sports fan. I'm sorry, Chris. You're not less of a sports fan for that one. But no, he's right. I mean, could have Sidney Crosby and Lemieux. Now, I understand Lemieux in a bit of a different realm, coming back from cancer, saving the organization first, winning 2 Stanley Cups, coming back from cancer, being a owner of the team, still obviously making huge decisions. Sidney Crosby, though, does have 1 more Stanley Cup where he was the captain throughout those 3 for Lemieux.
But sorry, and Bogus is here too. You might weigh in this. I looked at a lot of all-time lists of the greatest hockey players. I'm seeing a lot of Gretzky 1, Lemieux 2, then Sidney's lower down. So I think if you're widely considered one of the top 3 hockey players, Bobby Orr's also top 3. Like, I think Mario's just a scunch better, but it's kind of like 1A and a slightly below. What is that fair to say, Bogues, or am I misreading because Crosby maybe will get his legacy up there?
Well, I think the difference is what Lemieux then did as an owner to keep the Penguins in Pittsburgh, maybe. Yeah. So to me, you can't have them both in this city. Unfortunately, there's too many Steelers and Clemente. Having them both on the list is really hard. So I would have had Lemieux and not Crosby.
Yeah, so meanwhile, when a guy contributes to the organization after he's done playing, it's good if it's Lemieux. When it's Steve Yzerman, suddenly I know nothing about hockey because I put him on my Detroit Mount Olympus over Gordie Howe.
Listen, don't get me started because you then put a boxer somewhere else if they're dismissing Joe Louis and his arena in Detroit. So
I wasn't
we're
understanding
in and out of all the logic.
I wasn't understanding the rules clearly for week 1 because I didn't know that Perloff was going to put Joe Louis on for Detroit, and I rectified it by putting George Foreman on Houston.
Right, because all the teams playing the George Foreman Arena in Houston. Come on, Maggie.
And again, it was Yzerman instead of Gordie Howe, who's Mr. Hockey.
Well,
his name is literally Mr. Hockey.
And Yzerman is Stevie Y, best of Detroit.
That's just a nickname by adding a Y to the end of his first name and taking the first letter. That's not like Mr. Hockey.
Well, that's what
like
every great hockey
Maggie
player.
G.
That's what every great hockey player does. Okay, quickly, and before we get to Bogusch, Michael's in Pittsburgh. Michael, would we be raced out of town with pitchforks for these Mount Olympus picks?
You would be. I don't think.
Let me get a head start.
I growing up in the Strip District and living in Pittsburgh my whole life, something I just wanted to point out that's kind of known fact in Pittsburgh. So the 70s players, no matter what, in Pittsburgh take on like mythic proportions. So that era was when Pittsburgh was booming, the steel industry was booming. It was better times in the city.
Yeah.
So those players automatically get a bump. The couple I wanted to point out that I think maybe you guys may have missed, Jack Lambert is a huge icon in Pittsburgh. Myron Cope. It's Myron Cope's Terrible Towel. Everybody listen to Myron Cope every Sunday. You turn the TV down, you turn the radio up. And then Bob Prince, of course. I would say otherwise you guys did a pretty good job. You can't put Crosby over Lemieux. It's a well-known fact in Pittsburgh. Lemieux's the best hockey player that's ever lived. I think you're right, keeping Bradshaw out there. Yeah. Nobody cares for him.
Michael, one question. What about Willie Stargell? Maggie and I were discussing that. I feel like he's kind of a mythic figure, too.
He is, and that's the one that I'd have a hard time keeping off there. But I think if you're going with Clemente, you can only have one. And I think Clemente is probably the right pick for a multitude of reasons. But Stargell's right there. I mean, he's an iconic figure in Pittsburgh. So,
Michael, thank you for that. And I love the city of Pittsburgh, and I have been there many, many times. So I hope I'm not persona non grata the next time I go there. Bob Prince was the longtime voice of the Pirates, just if that's not a nationally known thing. Yeah. The terrible towels, that's a really good call, though.
Yeah, Myron Cope is it passed, a few years ago, right?
I always said if you climb to the top of Mount Everest, I think there's a terrible towel up there. Yep. I wouldn't be surprised. They're everywhere. So keep them coming, guys. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. What do we get right and what do we get wrong about the four sports gods from Pittsburgh? What's
Meanwhile,
up?
no pierogies for Maggie.
Oh, but can I take a Permanente Brothers? I don't even know if that's the thing. Like, I've had Permanentes and you eat the French fries on everything, but is that like for tourists or is that for actual people who live in Pittsburgh?
I don't think you'll be able to find out. You're excommunicated.
I hope not.
Pierogies are delicious.
I need to go back to the Andy Warhol Museum.
Pierogies started in Pittsburgh, actually.
The big Pittsburgh thing.
Because also pierogies are big in New York, too.
Huge in Buffalo.
Well, we have a big Polish population. But no, pierogies are huge in Pittsburgh. My mom went to school in the first 2 years of Pittsburgh when she was at Penn State.
Dude, Polish American Week in Buffalo, man. Oh, pierogies everywhere. It's delicious.
Polish American Week?
Yeah, in Buffalo.
In
That's
Buffalo, awesome.
Yeah,
I
right
bet
on
that's
the
a
west
great
side.
week.
Oh, yeah, right on the west side.
Fall
Bunch
or
of pierogies.
spring?
Spring, if I'm not mistaken.
Why did you leave Buffalo? It sounds like you love it. It has Polish American Week. It's got
brick out there, man. It's cold.
Oh, right.
Got a girl that texted Manny.
Oh, God.
I was going to get to that.
Was that going to be part of your update?
Eventually. Here was the opening, and it appeared. No?
Yes.
We're just going to commute back and forth.
This update is presented by Progressive was actually my opening line.
Does this sound familiar? Let's do some baseball. A good beginning and a good ending for the Reds against the Yankees. Let's go in order.
Payoff pitch once more. And a swing and a miss. Got him with a slider.
This stuff is not that easy, folks. 5 consecutive Yankees have gone down via the strikeout here in Chase Burns' Major League debut. Ouch.
Chase Burns, the second pick in last summer's draft, the first starter in the expansion era, which I believe begins with 1961, to strike out the first 5 batters he faced in his big league debut. He struck out 8 total over 5, allowing 3 runs on 5 hits. So he was in line for a loss until his teammates forced extras and then won.
Swing, and there's a line drive into center, floating and down for a hit. Ellie dashes home, and the Reds walk it off.
5-4 over those Yanks, who are now 1-6 when the game goes past 9 innings. They have dropped 9 of 12 overall. Their AL East lead is down to 1 game on the Rays,
They're
who
still
are
leading?
4-1 winners in KC. Smallest lead for the Bombers since April.
I think we adopt the Reds.
What?
Too late because I have Ellie De La Cruz on my home run derby list. So technically, I think I get to root for him over all of you.
I think America roots for Ellie De La Cruz. He's amazing to watch. So yeah, what's wrong with that, folks?
My first objection is I am not looking for a new team. Your Phillies are playing well, so you shouldn't be looking for another team.
But I feel like the Reds are in a separate bucket. You can root for like young, up-and-coming stars because you guys are so... It's like the NBA. You can love teams because you love their stars. Can't you love the Dodgers because you love Shohei?
I like Ellie De La Cruz. I like Shohei. I don't root for the Dodgers to win, and I don't care about the Reds winning.
What if you're a big Cooper Flagg fan? Aren't you going to root for the Mavs?
Nope.
Yeah, no. Sorry, Pearl, you're looking at me like for a lifeline here. I'm with Bogusch on this one.
So
100%.
you can only root for the
teams.
team in the NBA where there's a star-driven league. You can only root for the team that you grew up rooting for?
You root and you watch. right? So I'll watch Cooper Flagg. I'll watch Ellie De La Cruz. I have a little more skin in the game because he's on my home run derby team. But like Shohei Ohtani, I'm watching. If we're talking just straight up fandom, no, because he's going to play my team in the playoffs probably, and that's going to be painful.
Were you rooting for him against the Yankees? Because like the Yankees, I was like, let's
whatever.
Because you guys hate the Yankees.
Yeah, they do.
For example, I loved watching Michael Jordan, and I was excited when the Bulls were in the final. Like that kind of rooting. Like my whole generation rooted for the Bulls.
You guys started all this mess with all the rooting for the players, you carpetbaggers.
Yeah, that's an NBA thing.
Now we have LeBron fans and Kobe fans and Steph fans. Oh, gosh.
From the late 90s through the 2000s, even when the Sixers had Allen Iverson, I watched 82 games of Nets basketball a year because I was obsessed with Vince Carter. 82 games. So, that's how I've watched sports.
But I think you can root for those guys and hope they do well without saying they're your team. I'm more with you, I think, than everyone else here because I rooted for Chet Holmgren in this NBA Finals. He's a Gonzaga guy.
Yeah,
love the Zags.
Yeah,
I loved watching Dirk Nowitzki's one of my all-time favorite players. I loved watching the Mavericks of that era. I loved watching Carmelo and the Nuggets. So I hear what you're saying. It's just I can't say that's my team.
But you can root. Okay, what if in 2016 I said, "Hey, let's all pick up the Cubs. Let's root for the Cubs." An underdog like the Reds. Can you guys get behind that? Who's with me?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing that really messes people up and really makes them mad. If you weren't there for all the years that the Cubs were terrible and not even sniffing the playoffs, the World Series, and there was a curse of the Billy Goat and all of that, if you weren't there for that, then you can't be here now for breaking the curse and getting to celebrate with everybody. That's my issue with it.
You can jump on a bandwagon for a great underdog story like the Lions. If you don't have at least a little bit of empathy for Lions fans and hope that they do well, then you're cruel.
Well, that's fine, but I'm saying amongst the diehard Lions faithful, they're going to be like, I was here, we went over.
Not even
Rod Marinelli.
No. Even the Lions fans are not like, they did not expect you to hang around for Wayne Fonts. No, they'll welcome you aboard. I don't think so.
Wait, who was the youth senate yesterday? EJ and
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was, I think.
No, it wasn't SGA. Was it Jalen Williams? Who was the person who gave the speech? Yesterday,
that was
Aaron Wiggins.
That was Aaron Wiggins. Okay,
Aaron Wiggins, who gave a great speech. I don't know if we have, but we can find it. It's a great speech yesterday at the parade, and he goes, 4 years ago, not 2 years ago. 4 years ago, we won 24 games. That's 24 games, and people were calling us the black hole of the NBA. He goes, and what's so sweet about now is all those people who were with us when we won 24 games now get to celebrate and cheer us on now that we're champions. You got to be there for the 24-win season if you're going to enjoy the 60.
That's crap. The Oklahoma City Thunder have missed the playoffs 3 times in the last 20 years. Like, they are not the Chicago Cubs.
Well, both. I'm saying you can't. Yeah. You had to be there for the pain.
There was 2 years of pain in Oklahoma City. Get out of here. You could jump on the Reds bandwagon. This could be a great story. It really could. That's exciting. The Thunder, they tanked a couple of years. They got some good players. That is not, you're fine. I think you can, wait, you don't like any underdogs because you weren't there? So you couldn't root for McNeese State in the tournament because you didn't root for them back in 2008?
No, you could root for the Cubs, but you can't be sitting on your couch in a Mark Graves jersey and and with being that emotional over them winning finally a World Series.
Yeah, you had people going to cemeteries listening to the game next to loved ones who had passed away. Like that, you can't replicate that. You jump on the bandwagon almost like it's like insulting.
No, but if it's 2015 and you say, wow, man, the Cubs have a young nucleus, I'm going to get on board with these guys. They were super fun. They're exciting. If you did it a little early, then I think Cubs fans would be like, yeah, come on board.
No, a little early is 1974 here.
So you think you have to suffer through all these years? Yeah. We can't jump on the Reds.
I mean, as a Knicks fan, we've suffered a lot of losing seasons. The losers that have tried to jump on Knicks bandwagon have been dealt with.
Oh, the celebrities?
Yeah, we don't rock with the people jumping on the bandwagon now when they're good.
Also, I don't know if those lovely people in the Midwest would take too kindly of us Northeasterners trying to jump on the Reds bandwagon after they'd suffered through so many 72-win seasons. No. It's been some bad baseball in Cincinnati.
No. People in the Midwest are actually nice. They say, come on board. We could go to St. Louis right now and we get hugs from the fellow fans.
Yeah, well, St. Louis is almost extreme. Like they're tipping their cap to Paul Skeens when he's no hitting you.
What do you think? Cincinnati people are mean?
No, they're nice too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think that there's like a reputation to uphold.
Fine, it's
to
a
be
team
welcoming.
of Perloff then. Fine, you guys are out. When I'm enjoying the Reds being good in 3 years.
I was never in.
When you're not, when Ellie De La Cruz is the World Series MVP in 2029, someone here gets to celebrate. And it ain't you guys.
I want Perloff walking in tomorrow with a Jose Trevino jersey. You aware with Jose Trevino's work?
Yeah, he was a great golfer.
Lee's brother.
I'm not saying I'm on board yet. I'm thinking about joining. I needed some help.
Jose Trevino. That's your
Doesn't know who
second.
the
That's your
catcher
second
is.
favorite player.
Unless
right,
it was Johnny Bench. He has no idea who the catcher was for the
Or
Reds.
Pete Rose.
Okay, let's take a quick break.
I have not watched a Reds game since that World Series with the earthquake. So
I gave Joe DiMaggio a shower.
That wasn't even their World Series.
That wasn't even them. There you go. Who was that? The Giants and the Oh yeah. Well, the one after that.
Okay. We'll get back to more news coming out ahead of the NBA draft tonight. And Aaron Rodgers, what did he have to say about his upcoming season in Pittsburgh? Next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Pittsburgh, PA, center stage right now. Not just because Aaron Rodgers said this is going to be his last season, most likely, playing football, but we're doing the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the 4 sports gods of every great city, and today we just happen to be doing Pittsburgh. I promise you, this stuff got planned out weeks ago. It just so happened that every city we do, this news breaks like the day before we do it.
We put out the calendar a month ago.
I know.
Amazing.
And, Andrew Kaplan said yesterday, look out Baltimore. I'm like, and we got all this stuff about Lamar Jackson yesterday. So we'll do Baltimore then. Meanwhile, Andy is in Pittsburgh. Andy, who did we leave off our Mount Olympus?
Well, I think you left off Andrew McCutchen. I agree with Mew, Clemente, and Franco. But Andrew McCutchen, he's like a hero up here. And if the dummies would use common sense, they wouldn't have traded him to begin with, and he would have done even more for the Pirates. I mean, he's just a great dude and a hero up here.
Okay, so
simple as that.
So you said Clemente, Lemieux, and Franco Harris are the unassailables, and you would have put McCutchen there. So I put Troy Polamalu, and I put Sidney Crosby. Perloff, you put for your other two.
I put Harris, Clemente, Lemieux, and Mean Joe Green.
You don't like those. You think McCutchen deserves to be in there.
I mean, Andrew McCutchen's great up here. I mean, if you just see what you see when I live up here every day in this area and everything, he's a hero. I mean, in personal experiences, too, seeing my son, 8 years old, seeing him hit 2 home runs in his first Pirate game.
Whoa, that's an amazing memory. Yeah.
And then we was at a Pirates game a couple years ago, and he almost got his 2000 hit, but the shortstop for the Mets made a wicked play, or we would have saw that. And a couple weeks ago, June 4th, we saw him play the Astros, and he almost got the home run that passed Clemente on the Pirates home run list. He was like a few feet in front of the fence. I was like, oh, come on.
Andy, thank you for those memories. Yeah. And McCutchen, class act. I mean, everyone knows that around sports, that he is one of the best people.
Does he go into the Hall of Fame if he made it as a Pirate or for his year and a half in Philly?
Or for his half a season in the Bronx.
Yeah. Which, by the way, they made him cut his hair for that.
Shave the beard, too.
Iconic that he had his dreads.
I loved him on the Yankees. I digress.
Anyway, Tyler is in Portland, wants to take something up with Perloff, who said everyone was rooting for Michael Jordan when he was with the Bulls. Tyler, I think you're going to tell us that's not true.
Well, being born and raised here in Portland, Oregon, Jordan has a very sour taste in everyone's mouth.
Because he's not in a Blazers uniform.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I think the Mount Olympus for Portland needs to be the failures that we've had. And yesterday, Maggie, you ruined my whole morning letting me know that we've traded away young talent and seem to be doing the same exact thing we've done throughout existence. Trading it away or not drafting it. So...
Listen, I'm sorry if I was the bad news who told you about the trade. Well, you get Jrue Holiday. Tyler, thank you for that. And Anthony Simons is gone. Yeah. He's to Boston. But I didn't realize. I thought that Jrue Holiday at least was going to come to Portland, and the story would be, all right, he kind of clicked the Chauncey Billups, and he's going to be the leader, and he's going to really embrace this role. But the latest is he's kind of ticked off. He got traded and doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, I think they have 2 years left, and they'll be expiring. If you're going to do if you're doing failure, Sam Bowie would be the entire Mount Olympus for Portland. I mean, sorry, I get it, but still, that's not Jordan. It's not a reason not to root for Jordan.
Still too soon, Perloff. It was the early 80s. Back to the Mount Olympus of Pittsburgh next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Pittsburgh Steelers moving all their chips in the middle of the table. At least that's how it comes across to me. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Pearl, good morning. Whether he meant it or not, when Rodgers says this is my last season, likely this is my last season because he's put 20 years into the NFL, I can't help but have a little Last Dance vibe. Like, oh, could he have this, storybook ending to his career where he goes out like Peyton Manning or, just John Elway, somebody who we have always thought of as an all-time great player and gets like finally that ending maybe that we all thought, right? Like gets another ring, bookends it with another iconic franchise. Rodgers won one in Green Bay to win another in Pittsburgh, even if he has like no connection really to the city. But to do that would be unreal.
That sounds like pure fantasy talk to me. You really think that there's any chance? I just can't wrap my head around the idea that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win a Super Bowl this year. It would be an incredible upset. They might be one of the great upsets of all time. What about this team has shown you they're a quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl?
Okay, so the defense has been good. I know that they got run on at the end of the year, but I think there was a lot of things that had to do with that. I think injuries played into that. I think their crazy schedule played into that. And I think they were young at certain spots. And they're about to be younger because they went heavy on defense in the draft. But the defensive side, I'm less worried about than actually the offense. And now you have Rodgers there. You have an offensive line that's gelling together more. You trade away George Pickens, but you have DK Metcalf. You have a suitable running game with an offense coordinator that we know wants to run the ball. These are the shades, right? These are the things where if Rodgers can put together a great season, you can squint and say, wow, maybe this is like a one-off amazing year.
Wait, you said the offensive line is gelling. That was a...
I think they were a question mark last year because they've added a lot of new pieces, but now they have time and have another year together.
Yeah, but I think that's a big assumption to say that they will gel. And obviously they don't have a running back. They like this rookie they drafted, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, right? And I just don't know. I think that it's a huge stretch. They're not even predicted to have a winning record by Vegas, let alone a Super Bowl. I don't think they're in the ether as a possible Super Bowl pick. I'm being dead serious. And I'm actually rooting for Rodgers. Like you, I'd like to see this sort of walk off. I think the highest end he's going to do is Joe Montana in Kansas City, where they win a playoff game. And it's like, yes, that was fun.
So I can't help but think, not the Joe Montana example, although that's a really good one, but I also can't help but think this could be like something else that's happening in sports right now, which is Kevin Durant, right? So Durant just got traded from Phoenix to Houston. And it's like, I've seen this a lot where there are a lot of basketball people who want Kevin Durant to sort of end on a high note. He hasn't been the most popular guy. Like he is popular, but he's been polarizing. At times he's been sensitive. At times he's gone at people on social media. It seems like a little bit of a waste of his time. He's kind of like, he's got his fans and he certainly has his detractors. I see that a little bit like Rodgers too. Not for the same reasons, but a guy who is going to go down as an all-time great player, has had a couple tough years. A lot of people want to see him succeed, maybe want to see him fail, but we have no doubt about his talent. And I'm thinking Durant is kind of a similar thing here to Rodgers. Like at the end of the career, are they going to do something that's going to have another high peak? Like, are we going to get another notch on the post of a great Hall of Fame career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different because Kevin Durant brings in the bus driver thing, and Rodgers is clearly a bus driver, for better or worse. I don't think Rodgers would ever be a bus rider. So I think there's a slight difference in the way they've approached it. I have to apologize about something I said earlier in the week that I was dead wrong about.
What's that?
I said when the Rockets got Kevin Durant. I'm like, nobody's picking the Rockets to win the title.
Yeah, they are.
Boom. Have you guys not watched Kevin Durant experience over the last 5 years? Which is, by the way, I could say the same thing about Aaron Rodgers in your analogy there. Like, I don't see like he's trending towards an NBA title or the Rockets. I was surprised. The odds shot up. They're the second favorite in the West.
They were the 2 seed in the West this year without Kevin Durant.
They had the same amount of wins as the 8 seed, basically. That was a bit meaningless. They didn't get out of the first round.
Right, well, they faced the Warriors.
And?
Well, and they lost, but I think that, I don't know, I see these two things as kind of the same, right? It's a team like Pittsburgh, made the playoffs last year, but cannot win a playoff game, haven't been able to win one in 8 years. Does Rodgers come in and kind of change things, And if he's all in, I know he's saying now that he, wants to make his private life private and he doesn't want to be in the public spotlight. That's for after he retires. Right now, I think that he's all in, expecting to get a lot of attention and that maybe the Steelers can make some noise. Whatever that means to you.
What about the fact that the Steelers have had the same record for about a decade now?
Yeah, with bad quarterbacks. Here's the thing about Rodgers. The counting stats.
Ben was good, and they still did the same thing. They were coming up short in the playoffs.
Well, that was the end of Ben, and this is the end of Rodgers. I get that. But I think that the counting stats have been good were good on Rodgers last year, but obviously he was still getting used to playing on the healed Achilles. If you have do you get a 75% Aaron Rodgers this year from what he was? I mean, that's a damn good quarterback.
Are you picking them to make the playoffs?
Yes.
So
why wouldn't I pick them to make the playoffs?
Because I'll
it's
tell
the Steelers. It's like that's death and taxes.
That means you're going to have to knock out a pretty good team.
Yeah, I probably am.
So because the Bills are granted the AFC East, it's like it's a done deal. Then you have, obviously, I think you have the Ravens and Bengals right there in the AFC North. So Steelers are going to have to knock off one of those teams. It's probably not going to be the Ravens. Then you got the one AFC set. Then you got the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs coming up in the West.
Yeah, I don't think 3 teams from the AFC West are making the playoffs this year.
You should definitely start betting on the Steelers. The odds are really stacked against them.
I think Broncos out would be my AFC West team. I don't know. We'll get more into that, but that would be my one pick. 888-710-4SN.
Be very careful about that defense there in Denver. They are nasty.
888-710-4476. So expectations for Rodgers now that he's basically put it out there that this is going to be it. Although, Pearl, you're not really believing him. But
if he's as good as you say they're going to be, oh my God, he'll totally be back next year. Why not?
Yeah, I love he said that he's going to be the Kaiser Sose when he retires. Wow. He's just going to, the great scene at the end of The Usual Suspects, where Kevin Spacey is obviously made Kaiser up Sose. This whole thing, and he walks out of the police station, Chaz Palminteri is there, and suddenly starts putting together the pieces, and all of a sudden, Kevin Spacey was walking with a limp, and now he's, the man. He's lighting the cigarette.
Yeah, I've seen the movie. Okay. The one thing about
Has Vandy seen it?
No.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
Even your explanation isn't going to explain what Kaiser Sose is. But the thing about Rodgers, he follows Favre's every footstep. What if he had a Favre year where he lost in the NFC title game? That'd be amazing, right? That was a great experience. They didn't win the Super Bowl. And that was a huge legacy helper for Favre.
Sure.
He can have that. I'm just saying he doesn't have to win a Super Bowl, which is a tall order, and he can be very successful here.
I'll grant you that. I'm not so rigid in my thinking that I wouldn't say, if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, he makes it to the AFC Championship game. Wow, what a disappointment.
That'd be
of course that would be
a great story, which is funny.
The Steelers haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. Of course, going to the AFC Championship game would be dynamite.
Yeah. So
They'd
it's not
back.
Okay. So we're compromising a little. It's not Super Bowl or bust for him to succeed here.
No, but I got to be honest. No, it's not because I'm like a realistic person and I'm not just a hot taker, but considering the franchise and the player, to make it Super Bowl bust is not totally outside the realm. It's not like Aaron Rodgers with the Jets where it's a great player but a bad franchise. Or it's not, the Pittsburgh Steelers with Mason Rudolph, so it's a great franchise but not a great quarterback. Like, both things do match up. You have an iconic franchise and an iconic quarterback.
Yeah.
To say Super Bowl or bust is not insane.
Well, the fact that the way the Steelers are to win a playoff game is like, wow, let's try and go out there and survive to the divisional round. That's where they are, because most people think that this is going to be maybe make the playoffs, wild card and out. That's where this franchise is, Maggie. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not 1981.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Okay, that's what's going on in Pittsburgh currently. It's Aaron Rodgers. But how about Pittsburgh all time? Today, the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff puts the spotlight on Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Perloff, recap your 4 sports gods from the Steel City.
Okay, I went with Franco Harris, Roberto Clemente, Mario Lemieux, and Mean Joe Green.
You and I are in lockstep on Franco Harris and Roberto Clemente. I think those are going to be the 2 that are obvious choices. And then I went with Troy Polamalu, so a little multiple Steelers generations, the 2-time Super Bowl champion. And I went with Sidney Crosby over Lemieux, which I understand. It's not going to be that popular. But 3 Stanley Cups, captain for all 3. Let's go to Wilson, who's in California. That's Crosby. What's up, Wilson?
Always good to talk to you guys. A couple of names that kind of flew over the radar here. One, in all respect to David Tyree, had what I think are the 2 greatest catches in Super Bowl history. A guy named Lynn Swann.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another guy from Pittsburgh who is from Pittsburgh, went to the University of Pittsburgh, was part of the 1983 draft, the greatest quarterback draft in history, and perhaps the greatest arm in NFL history, a guy by the name of Dan Marino.
Yeah, it's a great call, and you hate to dock Pittsburgh for passing on Marino, right? For the Steelers,
yes,
Wilson. But there's so many. I mean, if you want to just do quarterbacks from Pittsburgh or great players, great football players from Pittsburgh, I mean, Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, right, is like the hotbed.
You got Montana, you got Kelly, you got
Darrell Revis.
But it's a cradle of quarterbacks, really. Pittsburgh per se. I mean, name it. I don't think that's exactly. You don't say they're all from Pittsburgh, do you?
Yeah, I think so.
No, Joe is from Beaver Falls, I believe.
Yeah, Beaver Falls.
Yeah, it's slightly different. Like they do spread out a little bit.
They do, but I'll tell you, that state, your state, they got a heck of a resume when it comes to quarterbacks. By the way, I wanted to say one thing, Maggie. About a week ago, you guys were talking nicknames, and it was a very entertaining show. My favorite growing up was always the Crime Dog,
yeah.
Riff. But when I listened to you guys on the radio, and I followed Perloff since the Patrick days, but you have a very clear, effervescent voice that comes through very well on radio. I had to give you a compliment, and it reminds me of Velma, okay, from Scooby-Doo.
I remind you of Velma from Scooby-Doo? I think she was secretly kind of like sneaky, sexy one, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was one.
Yeah, very intelligent. She was the really intelligent one. And I know you got some good family and friends. You probably got your little pet nicknames, but when I hear you, I'm thinking Velma here.
Okay.
So anyway, I love your show, you guys.
Wilson, thank you, and thank you for the compliment. And Dan Marino is a great one, from Pittsburgh and then went and played at Pitt. Is that enough to get him on the Mount Olympus to be a sports god from Pittsburgh, even though he didn't play professional football there?
Yeah, Velma is sneaky sexy, but the line of the year. I don't. Yeah, you've been watching too much AI stuff. I don't know where you got that from.
But I thought nerds are in. She was the nerdy one too. Who was the blonde? Forgive me, I don't know.
Daphne. She was a redhead. She wasn't blonde.
Sorry, Daphne was a redhead?
Yes.
Yeah, Velma's hair was brown.
Brown.
Yeah.
No, she was like the brown with the glasses.
Google Velma right now. Like,
Okay,
he gave
sorry.
you a great compliment about your voice, then he called you Velma.
Well, Velma, I will say, though, like, Velma is that's a good Halloween costume.
I don't discriminate. when it comes to my Scooby-Doo characters. Love all of them.
You love them all. They're all...
The sexy Velma is definitely a thing in terms of Halloween time.
That's what I'm saying. I think that turning nerds in... I think that's become like the girl wearing the glasses. She's kind of in the corner, the book smart one.
Mm-hmm. Dude.
Manny.
Dude.
What?
Velma is not sneaky sexy.
Oh.
The original Velma? Look at the picture.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I must be looking at some kind of updated version. You're right.
I made the mistake before because I wanted to find a sounder of trying to search, Velma's famous line of Jinkies. And I searched, my first thing was, go to Twitter, Velma Jinkies. I saw some very explicit things that I had to close on my computer
some
very quickly.
NSFW.
Yeah, it was so I'm saying Velma's definitely a favorite amongst the Zion Williamson crowd. Let's just call it that.
There's an OnlyFans Velma.
sure there is. That's a very popular costume.
That's surely probably its own
socks.
category, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, knee socks, short shorts.
So, yeah, she wore a skirt, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the skirt, the knee socks, and the Mary Janes. I mean, it's all right there.
I've told you guys my favorite revisiting an old iconic sitcom person
Orange
was
top, yeah.
Super 70s Sports social media feed, one of the funniest feeds. As I get older, I get more and more Miss Howell. I didn't know there was a third option on the island. It's one of my favorite. You guys, of course, are too young to know this, but most of America knows Gilligan's Island. Yeah, Miss Howell's getting hotter and hotter as I get older. I get it. I'm in. Lovey Howell, no idea, right?
No,
not a clue.
They didn't see
Gilligan's
the usual
Island
suspects. They didn't see Gilligan's Island.
Well, Gilligan's Island is still kind of around. You didn't have TV Land?
Yeah, I know it's around and it's on reruns and whatnot, but I'm going to skip right over it and go to ESPN.
Well, fair.
Sorry.
Wait, you don't watch any sitcoms then?
Not really. Friends, The Office, period. End of list. I'm very boring.
See, there was a time where, when I was growing up, Manny, because you didn't have all different channels, like Nick at Night would come on, and if you either go to bed at 9 o'clock or watch whatever was on Nick at Night.
Mr. Ed.
Right, so I had to watch Gilligan's Island. That's why I love Gilligan's Island, because I wasn't going to bed
That
at
was
9
on Nick
o'clock.
at Night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Manny, there's an episode where somehow the Harlem Globetrotters get stuck on the island and they get off and everyone else is still stuck on it.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, that's the premise of the entire show.
I guess I got to watch it.
888-710-4ISN.
Big ginger guy here.
888-710-4476.
I don't discriminate.
Okay, coming up, we are right here on the doorstep of the NBA draft. It is tonight and tomorrow. Round 1 is tonight. We will talk to a 20-year NBA scout next to give us the lowdown on all these prospects. It's Maggie Perloff.
Jinkies.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Sorry. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Follow your dreams. Yeah. Want to get a mansion, a jacuzzi, a theater.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Today, the Mount Olympus for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the four sports gods of Pittsburgh. Tomorrow, EJ's Baltimore, right? Tomorrow, we continue the tour. Baltimore is going to be taking center stage. But we also got something else tonight, Pearl. I know you're excited. The NBA draft will kick off. Not so much drama at the top. We know it's going to be Cooper Flagg to the Dallas Mavericks. But for everything else, let's turn to our next guest. His name is Michael VandeGarde. He has 20 years as an NBA scout, 18 of them with Perloff 76ers. He's now has CoachTube.com. It's a place to find online courses where you can learn how to coach via instructional coaching videos by top sports professionals, basketball, football, and so much more. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Man. For basketball fans all throughout the world, today is a great day. Great day. So excited.
I know this draft is going to be an all-timer, we think. But before we can get to that, we actually have to talk about something that may be a connection between you and Andrew Perloff, 76ers fan. So you were an 18-year scout for this Philadelphia 76ers. Perloff was in the movie Hustle with Adam Sandler and
Anthony Edwards and
every Major League star.
Yeah, I had one line in the movie Hustle. Maggie thinks this is based on your life.
You know what? I get that question all the time. It's so funny when I tell people the 76ers, they say, oh, that movie Hustle, was that real? Was that, what was that like? So, obviously that's a great movie. It's all about the Sixers, which obviously, Andrew, you and I love. The real exaggeration of what we did on a daily basis, but it was great.
So you never had a situation like with Boban where you had to go overseas and the person's pretending to be 25 years old when they're clearly 35 years old?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely went overseas a bunch to see players. Never found anybody just hanging out in the park that could really play.
So Bo Cruz was a little bit of a stretch. All right, let's bring it back to today where we got the draft tonight. Michael, you're 20 years NBA scout. What is the Cooper Flagg comparison that you think fits the best?
I think he's kind of one of his own. I think he's got some Larry Bird qualities to him. I think he's just got a great skill set for his size and somebody that age we haven't seen in a long time. You could say Larry Bird, you could say Dirk Nowitzki. Obviously he's just got amazing talent. I think he's got a chance to be an elite scorer. I think he's got a chance to be an elite rebounder for his position. And I think he's got a chance to be an elite defender. And you rarely see a player that has all those qualities. That's why he's going number one today, and I just think his upside and his ability is just off the charts.
Michael, when you go into the meetings around this time of year with maybe the GM and the owner and the coach, do they want player comps? Is this more of a media thing to say, we need to see who is Cooper Flagg like? Is this something inside the building that scouts have to do as well, or is this more of an outside thing?
I don't think it's a mandate that you have to come up with a great comp, but no, it's talked about a lot. Like, we watch players all the time, whether you're an NBA scout in the front office or whether you're a fan, like, hey, that guy reminds me of so-and-so. I think it's just a natural transition for anybody in the basketball world to use those comps. We definitely used them. We talked about them, and that's not driving force of why you pick somebody or not. But hey, you've seen thousands of players over the course of time, and you just want to remind people what you think this player could become, or what he makes you think of when you watch him play.
We're talking with Michael VandeGarde, who's a 20-year NBA scout, 18 of those with the Philadelphia 76ers, now as CoachTube.com. Okay, Ace Bailey, if he had canceled the workout on the 76ers when you were there, do you think that would have taken him off the board, or do you think that his talent is going to prevent him from falling because he's canceling these workouts?
Well, the one thing that people I always talk to that people always don't understand is we get to choose whoever we want. Like, it's in our court. We can take whatever player we decide to take. So I remember we had a scenario very similar with Kristaps Porzingis. He wasn't willing to give us our medical. He wasn't going to give him our medical information. So we had to make a decision. Are we willing to take him? Are we willing, are we going to pass on him? We didn't end up taking him. That decision was above my pay grade. Did we decide not to take him because we didn't have medical information? That might have been the reason, but if the Sixers want him, I still think he should be on the board. It doesn't prevent you from taking him. And teams are playing games at this time. Maybe somebody promised him right after the 76ers and he's happy with that promise. And they said, don't go work out for the Sixers. We're going to take you at 4, 5, 6, 7. I know some GMs right behind us that do some of those games. So I would definitely say that that's probably happened. And then the Sixers can decide whether they want to take him or not. The medical issue, just real quick, the medical issue is off the table. Everybody now at the combine gets the medical issues. So everybody has equal information going into the draft.
Michael, we've been debating one issue about Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, who's expected to go number 2. Does the fact that they didn't win at a high level in college concern you if you're a team?
Yeah, it definitely concerns you. But then I think you also go back and look at their high school career, AAU career. How successful were they? Did they win over time? It's a 1-year deal at Rutgers. So, it's definitely concerning. You want players that find ways to win. But their talent level besides those two was a little bit lacking for the level they were playing. And they were only freshmen. And they do have some warts in their game. And, absolutely it's a concern. You talk about it in the draft room, you go over it. But you also take a broader sense of how good were they in other settings as well.
Michael VandeGarde with us. CoachTube.com is where you can go to find online courses where you can learn how to coach for multiple different sports. It's funny because we were talking about Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey not making the NCAA tournament, not even not winning, just not making the tournament, even though these two guys were thought of at one point to be the top 2 of the top 3 picks in the NBA. Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, 2 guys for the 76ers that went really high, obviously, and did not make the tournament for their respective colleges. Did you guys talk about that with Simmons and Fultz when you were with the Sixers?
Yeah, we did. And it makes a difference. We're talking about LSU, we're talking about Washington, and we're talking about Rutgers. Rutgers is probably the lowest of the 3 programs over the course of the last 20 years. LSU has had its moments. Washington's had its moments. But when you don't go to a premier program, the chance that you're not going to win is greatly higher. So how much was it on the players, and maybe they're not as good as we think they are, or how much is it on the program? And there's different reasons now for today why kids choose different programs. NIL money and this and that and playing with friends. I'm only going to be there a year. So there's a lot of different reasons that go into it. And once again, you got to take the entire body of work. Obviously, Dylan Harper is projected to go number 2. I'd be very surprised if he isn't selected at number 2. So it definitely hasn't hurt Dylan Harper's, stock at all. We're talking a lot more about Ace Bailey, I think, in terms of is it really hurting his stock? And I think the only reason we're talking about that is because of the strange draft process that he's had in turning down workouts, especially with the Sixers at number 3.
I think another confusing prospect to some is Con Knipple, because obviously a sweet shooter on the college 3-point line. Is that going to translate to the NBA, and how high would you take him if you were looking at him as a prospect?
Well, his ceiling definitely isn't as high as some other guys, just because he's not the athlete that you're typically seeing in the top 5. But he brings something that's, more and more prevalent in today's game, the 3-point shooting. I think one thing that really helped him and helped his draft stock is when Cooper Flagg got hurt early in the NCAA tournament. He stepped up in the ACC tournament. He stepped up and helped Duke win that, ACC conference title. And he had to take on a much bigger offensive load than I think we, as the public and as draft people maybe knew he could do. So I thought that was special. He brings a toughness and a grit and an understanding how to play the game along with the shooting. How much more of his game will translate besides shooting, that's yet to be determined. But, man, in the ACC tournament, he was special. And I think that's why he went from a lottery pick to a top 5 or 6 pick.
Michael VandeGarde joining us, 20 years as an NBA scout. We're talking NBA draft tonight. And, Michael, we just watched an NBA Finals where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, not top 10 picks. And I'm curious who you think the diamond in the rough could be of this draft. Like, who's the guy who maybe is going to go outside of the top 10 or even outside the lottery that you think is going to be a star or could be a star?
I'm not ready to say anybody's going to be a star. That's why they're not getting drafted in the lottery. But one guy I do love is Ryan Kulkenbrenner from Creighton. I think your fans would be familiar with him. 7'2", long. 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. And he's actually shown that he can shoot the basketball a little bit in the last, latter part of his college career. And I know he had a great combine shooting the ball as well. 7'2" guys that are agile, that can protect the rim. If he, develops into a shooter at all, I'm not ready to say he's Kristaps Porzingis or anything like that, but he reminds me the way he moves of Kristaps. Can really defend the rim, great length, agile, and at 7'2", those guys, aren't walking around the streets every day. So I'd be excited about drafting him, whether it's late first round, early second round. And I think you could have a heck of a backup center. And I think in time he could become a really good starting center in the NBA.
Michael, as you look back 20 years of scouting, was there a guy who you saw who ended up being a star that you had an inkling about, but you weren't sure, like a Kawhi Leonard or a Giannis or a Joker that fell, that you look back and said, oh, should have seen that coming? Was there any guy like that sticks out to you?
Well, by far for me would be Jokic. I saw him play in Portland in the World versus the USA games out there. And, he was a slow, little bit overweight, little bit pudgy, really skilled guy. And I got to admit, I had never seen kind of a slow, pudgy guy turn into a superstar. And, he was great. Our European scout, really loved him, and we really liked him. We didn't have a pick right there. Otherwise, we would have taken him, mid to late second round in the same spot. But, that's the way it goes. There was no way we were taking him in the mid first round. So he'd be the one guy that stands out a lot. Obviously, you have the other, side of the coin. Who did you love that you didn't take because you couldn't get a pick to get him? So that always happens as well. So you hopefully find that diamond in the rough. But when I was with the Sixers, we did find Kyle Korver, in the late second round, and we did find Willie Green in the second round, and we did find Lou Williams in the second round. So not superstars at all, but really great players.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to give you a chance to brag for a second. Like, who was the guy who you pounded the table for and said, we need to get this guy? And maybe the team took him, maybe they didn't. But who was that one person that you called your shot on early that then everyone else caught up to?
You know what? I think Jrue Holiday is the greatest example. He didn't play point guard at UCLA. And so people were wondering what type of player he was. I actually scouted him a lot in high school. Saw a lot of video of him in high school and knew he could really play that point guard. And we absolutely loved him. And it's not just me, it's an entire group. But I would say Jrue Holiday, I want to say we got him 17, 18, I forget where, but we got him pretty late. And we thought, early in the draft process, there was no way he'd be there. And then as it got closer and closer, we realized he might. So Jrue Holiday would be that guy for me. And then I would also say Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala, we actually talked about trading up to get him at 3 or 4, and we snuck him in for a private workout the morning of the draft. I know that's been publicly said. And we thought there was a chance he was going to get there at us to 9. So those two guys stick out. Like, we really targeted them. We didn't think we could get them. And then late in the process, we realized we might. And we struck gold with those guys.
Michael, I'm on a bunch of Sixers text threads fans, and the markets are saying that they're going to take VJ Edgecombe at number 3, and my friends are not excited. They say he can't. Everyone's looking at the tape and saying, is this guy a good enough shooter to be a star in the NBA? Talk us down off the ledge.
Well, if you're looking for superstar upside, VJ Edgecombe has it unequivocally. I actually live in Austin, Texas, so I've seen Baylor play a lot down here. He's a great kid. He comes from a great family. He's got a great background to him, and his athleticism is off the charts. If you're looking for upside in the top of the draft, he's that. Now, there's a few other guys too, Jeremiah Fears, Ace Bailey. Some of those guys have massive upside because of their athleticism. But I'd be super excited. The only thing that would make me pause is we do have Jared McCain. How does he fit next to Jared McCain? It's kind of a little bit of a duplication. But if you're swinging for the fences and swinging for upside and trying to find superstars, I'd be super excited about him. There's a lot of guys that aren't finished products. That's why he has question marks besides him. But I think anybody after Cooper Flagg has major question marks in this draft.
Michael VandeGarde, you can follow him on all social media, but CoachTube.com, that's the most important. You can find online courses where you can learn how to coach via instructional coaching videos by top sports professionals, basketball, football, much more. Michael, last one for you, and thanks for doing this on a very busy day, I'm sure. If you have parents listening, people who have designs on their kid being, not an MBA is obviously crazy, but for college, right? If you would give advice from your 20 years as a professional scout for how parents should handle a high school career for someone who maybe wants to play college basketball at maybe Division III or II or I, what would be the biggest piece of advice you have for parents out there who are coaching kids who love basketball?
That's a great question. I get that a lot. I actually coach some AAU with my kids today. I think the biggest thing is your kid has to want it. And if he wants it, he's got to stack days and days and days. It's just like anything. You got to practice and you got to work on your craft. And you just, some of it's, the size, how tall you're going to be, how athletic you're going to be. But there's a lot of places, whether it's, the NBA or D1, that's always the dream. But D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, there's other avenues, to get your college paid for. And the kids just got to work their tails off. They got to stack days after days. And it's amazing how much more talented you can be in 6 months than you are today. That's one of the biggest things I learned in the NBA when I first joined. I used to think guys were either good enough or they weren't. I was a really good college player and, thinking I might play professionally, which I did a little bit. I just kind of thought you were either good enough or you weren't. And then I got to the NBA and I saw how guys changed from, 22 years old to 27, 28 years old and how much better they got. So you just got to work your tail off, stack days after days, weeks after weeks, and months after months.
Last one for you. Sorry, I just made me think of something else. Are people in the scouting community talking about the rash of Achilles tears lately? And is there any, from the inside the NBA perspective, is this a concern that guys seem to be younger and younger suffering from injuries we used to associate with older guys?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I had a lot of conversations in the last, since it happened to Halliburton. And they're going to have to reevaluate what they do with lower leg injuries, plain and simple. It's scary. It was once again, this was a rare injury back in the day. But as guys get bigger, as guys get stronger, as guys get more athletic, you see what they're trying to do with their bodies. And that's why the NBA teams have such amazing medical programs, is because you're pushing your bodies to the limit every day, and injuries are happening. It's scary. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. But, in today's world, you can also bounce back from that injury so much more than you could. So it's definitely a huge topic right now going on.
Michael, thank you so much for the time. Again, CoachTube.com is what you have to check out. For the online courses, we can learn how to coach, which is fantastic. We appreciate your expertise. Enjoy the draft tonight.
Love it. Super excited. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
All right. You feel any better about your Sixers and VJ Edgecombe? I mean, you got a glowing report there.
I'm getting more excited. I got to tell you, I'm a big Dunk fan, but I see Ace Bailey out there shooting in warm-ups like Kevin Durant, and I just don't know if this kid can shoot, and we've had a million guys just like this.
I mean, you need more scorers.
we definitely do. I mean, I'm counting Paul George and Joel Embiid out of this thing.
Okay, I figured so. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Well, you can't be calling yourself playoff P and lose all the time.
Let's get back to the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the four sports gods from the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We do that next.
They don't call me Championship Chuck.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Play, but little did they know he had whiskey in his sway.
Oh, Andrew Bogusch swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat.
Jack's team was laughing as Dad took his stance, wobbling at the plate in a tipsy baseball dance. The coach was shaking his head, moms were all aghast, but Andrew Bogusch grinned, living in the past.
Oh, Andrew Bogusch swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat. He hit a grounder to the shortstop, tried to make it to first, but he tripped over his own feet. Oh man, it was the worst. Jack was on the mound, his face turning red. Come on, Dad, get up, this game's far from dead. Oh, Andrew Bogusch swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat. He hit a grounder to the shortstop, tried to make it to first, but he tripped over his own feet. Oh man, it was the worst. Jack was on the mound, his face turning red. Come on, Dad, get up, this game's far from dead. Amy Lawrence in her power, but wait, hold up, no seat in sight. Her chair is gone this quiet night. Odyssey's finest, infinity's pride. Now Amy's pacing, no place to slide. She scans the room, but it's just air. A burning question, who took my chair? Ooh, who stole Amy's chair? Was it Zach Joe with his innocent stare? Or Ryan Hickey with the witness towering hair? It's not people lie, he's never there. Somebody fess up, who stole Amy's chair? Zach's says, hey, I didn't steal. I never mess with Amy's wheels. Ryan's hair is high and proud, but he swears he's innocent. Yelling out loud, I got no motive, I'm just tall. His hair almost scrapes the studio wall. But Amy's still standing, no time for lies. Someone's gonna pay no more alibis. So Amy's chair, was it Zach Gell with his innocent stare? Or Ryan Hickey with it with his towering hair? It's not people lying, he's never there. His turtle, call it chill shot bliss. He feeds it kale and lettuce, then gives it a little kiss. Andrew Bogush's turtles got a mansion in the tank with a slide, a tiny hammock, and a treasure chest bank. Two-tone Tony rolls in, his turtles got swag. Cruising slow but steady, repping that reptile flag. Meanwhile, Kevin LaMelle's got tacos on his plate. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he's got no time to wait. Turtle love, taco dreams, Andrew and Andrew living supreme. Two-ton Tony, slow and steady crew.
15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Christina Aguilera, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, you can't think of Pittsburgh without thinking about Christina Aguilera.
Well,
duh.
You know, we're doing the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the 4 sports gods from every great city. Today is Pittsburgh, and so Manny likes to do a musical accompaniment with it, and Christina Aguilera is like one of the finest musicians from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you know,
top 3 at least.
Singers.
Top 3
singers. Yeah.
Should we have given the McAfee crew a shout out here because I know they listen.
I mean, they're huge Pittsburghites.
Yeah, I know. I think they represent Pittsburgh very well. They'll probably have many thoughts on this.
Listen, if McAfee had played for the Steelers, maybe he gets on this Mount Rushmore as a high school phenom, I'm sure. And then
my dog.
Well, and also West Virginia is not so far from Pittsburgh.
That's true.
Maybe we should have considered some Mountaineers in this list because they're not going to make any other city.
I have made that drive from Pittsburgh to Morgantown many a time.
I'd like to put Tavon Austin in there.
I want to let you know the people of Pittsburgh will respect the fact you're driving around in a boo, brother.
Yeah.
Pitt and West Virginia, backyard brawl. It's a massive rivalry.
It's huge.
Yeah, but it's still like it's kind of a suburb, right?
Let's go to Chris, who's in Lexington, Kentucky. Chris, your Mount Olympus 4 sports gods, who are they?
Yes, Maggie Pro, great show. As I was telling EJ, I am a Pittsburgh native. So I'm 55 years old. So I've been trying to put this list together for a while. Here's what I got. I got Joe Green, absolutely number one. I remember reading so many things that, I mean, he was the guy. Obviously, the pieces around made the dynasty, but he was the one who changed that culture. And then Bradshaw has to be number 2 for obvious reasons. And then I'm a big hockey guy. And I remember before Mario showed up, Penguins were almost not going to be in Pittsburgh anymore. And Mario literally saved the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then number 4, again, we go from one transcendent player to another. I got Sidney Crosby as my number 4.
Yeah. Chris, it's a great list. Listen, Lemieux is transcendent in the way that saved Pittsburgh, saved hockey in Pittsburgh, fought cancer, and is one of the greatest players of all time and won multiple cups. And I put Sidney Crosby over him, which was I didn't delight in doing that at all. I went with the guy who had won more Stanley Cups as the captain throughout all 3, which may not be enough for some people, and I get that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, how'd Steve Yzerman work out for you?
It was a bloodbath. And I put Steve Yzerman over Gordie Howe for Detroit.
And honestly, I think Crosby's slightly greater than Steve Yzerman, but
yes.
Yeah, but it's going to cost you. I guarantee I'm going to win this poll.
Andrew Bogush is here. Wait, folks, 1 second. Quickly, Dominic is in San Francisco. Dom, just a few seconds, man. What do you got?
I got to have Bradshaw on there, Franco Harris. If they had a basketball team, it would be impossible. I'm taking Roberto Clemente over Stargell and Super Mario over Sidney Crosby. And for the musical one, I'm taking George Benson because I can't even say Christina Aguilera's name without losing my breath. Her music videos are mouthwatering.
Oh, jeez Louise,
Dom.
Good morning, Dom.
You know, we have like these amazing. We love when new callers call in, and we
6:49 a.m. out there, man. Relax.
we've gotten to know some of our regular callers, especially with Mount Olympus. It's really pulled some people in about the 4 sports gods from every city, and Dom's been calling every day with his sports gods. I didn't realize he had that Christina Aguilera take in there.
I mean, what the lot?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't have that take?
I thought he was trying to say Aguilera was hard to pronounce or something. That's what
That's what I thought he was going to.
Nope, he's fine with that.
It reminds me of Velma from Scooby-Doo.
Yes, that was Wilson calling about me. I
Maggie
remind you of
got-
Velma from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Maggie got compared to Velma from Scooby. Oh, you mean the sneaky, sexy one? I was like, that's not how I remember it. She's not Marianne.
Please say yes. Please say yes.
A little too much nipple. That was about Con Knipple.
Did you ever see when Velma, you guys don't know, when Velma took her glasses off, she couldn't see anything. She's like 16 years old and she couldn't even like see the door in front of her. So sexy. Yes, in the modern movie.
Damsel in distress.
Yeah, they had a pretty actress play her in the movie from like 2000, but no, that's not the original Velma.
Oh, that's right. Linda Cardellini played her. Okay.
God bless.
Yeah.
All right,
was
everyone
a
got
play.
that. Got
Well, there you
everyone.
go.
So that's sneaky sexy.
Yeah.
That's where it began, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reference, not the cartoon, because we know Maggie does not do well in cartoon form.
Yeah.
Honestly, me and Velma both in cartoon form, same. By the way, I finally got the.
But you exist in the real world. Velma does not.
Linda Cardellini certainly does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got the rough draft of where this cartoon of me looking like a bowling ball is gonna live.
Okay.
I got to approve the draft.
Just go with it.
Listen, you had Caillou before. Take Velma. You'll be fine.
Yeah. No, it's sneaky sexy.
Just trying to save myself. Bogush, go ahead.
Now it's Kristaps Porzingis on his way out of Boston. He goes to Atlanta with the Hawks sending the 22nd pick tonight to Brooklyn for helping make this swap happen. The Nets now have 5 first-rounders. The Celtics now have $200 million less to pay in luxury taxes after dealing away KP and Jrue Holiday. In Dallas, Kyrie Irving could have opted in for $43 million for the coming season. Instead, he'll sign a new 3-year agreement with the Mavs. It's worth $119 million, and he gets a player option now for the 27-28 season. Shohei Ohtani, a 2-run homer, the Dodgers' 9-7 win in Denver. The Tigers are the first team to 50 wins, down in the A's 11-4. The Cardinals outscored the Cubs 8-7. Mason Wynn, a homer and 4 RBIs. St. Louis has won 7 of 8. And Angels rookie Christian Moore kinda beat the Red Sox by himself last night.
And this one is lifted in the air. It's well hit out into right center field. And that ball, it looked like it got out. It did. That's going to be a walk-off home run. He goes into third base, but they've already called it a homer. This ball game is going to be over. It's a home run for Christian Moore, a walk-off homer.
A walk-off 2-run homer after Moore tied the game with a solo shot in the 8th. The Halos a 3-2 win in 10 over Boston. And the Indiana Fever snapped a 2-game slump, a 94-86 win in Seattle. But Caitlin Clark scored just 6 points, missing all 6 threes she took.
Watch that game. It was on right next to the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl rewatch. What has happened to our girl here?
She's still hurt?
I don't know. She is off.
1 of 23 from 3 last 3 games.
Oh.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She must still be hurt.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
she's
it doesn't
gone
look
through
good
some-
either. It doesn't look right.
I was going to say, she's gone through some stretches, though, like all shooters do.
Yeah, but, well, the shooters at that, Steph Curry doesn't go through a lot of those stretches.
Noted golfer.
Yeah, on the golf course or the basketball
But too
court.
good. Too good at golf, Steph Curry. He's doing it wrong.
You guys can keep the conversation going about the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the 4 sports gods from Pittsburgh, because this is an all-timer. Tomorrow we will tackle Baltimore.
By the way, when you're on there, Maggie and Perloff X feed, the Scottie Pippen versus Kawhi Leonard, who drank all that worked out for Perloff. 86% Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen.
No, we know. We know. They're both great. But you were saying comparing Cooper Flagg to Scottie Pippen makes no sense, but Kawhi Leonard does.
Yeah, but Scottie Pippen's more spectacularly athletic. All time. Top 10 all time.
Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Manny Rodriguez, Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan. Thank you to Michael VandeGarde, who joined us, Jerry Recco, who joined us to talk about Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. Enjoy the draft tonight, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Jinky.